Race fans, we're back. Another week of dirt track racing, episode number 262 of the One to Go show. Of course, Ryan Aho here. We have the former editor of the Full Throttle magazine over there in eastern Wisconsin, Bert Lehman, in the house. And of course, we have the former Proctor Speedway track champion, multi-time national champion, crew chief, and my right-hand man there, we got Changa. So how you boys doing this week?
Doing all right. I thought I'd be able to give you a rundown of the high limit race at 141 that I was supposed to go to. We're recording this on Wednesday night, so I would have been there last night, but rained out early. They made the right call because it rained, it poured around here. But they're making it up on Thursday night, so I'll be headed there on Thursday night.
Yeah, and we all have the background in the background, or at least you and I do. We got Eldora on. It's Wednesday night. We're doing the show. Heat number, I guess heat number 6 is on the track, and we did a draft. And I tell you, whoever picked Austin Smith on our repick, they're kind of sitting with a chance to lock themselves into the A main here. I know it wasn't me. That would have been good. I got Oakley Johns. That's one of my guys. Yeah, Oakley should stick to sunglasses, not dirt track racing. Let's put it that way. Not a very good pick for the 71A there. Hey, congrats, guys. By the way, Puka reached out, and he's still alive. For everybody wondering, yes, Puka's still alive, but he let us know that we just crossed over 100,000 all-time podcast downloads on Spotify. Kind of a cool stat, a milestone. I mean, most of our views come on Facebook, YouTube. We do have some podcasters out there. So thank you, everybody. And I guess at this time, if you watch on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, like, share, right, follow, do all that stuff, because that really helps us out, helps us kind of keep going here. So this episode, of course, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So if you're in the market for health insurance, and maybe you pay for your own, you got a family, maybe you're a couple, maybe just a single individual, maybe you're a business owner and you want to be able to give health insurance to some employees, or heck, maybe you got a job and they don't offer health insurance, whatever it may be. If you have to pay for health insurance and you look at the end of each month and I'm like, man, I am paying way too much money, got to go to specific doctors, maybe the ones that don't want to go to because they're not in mine aren't in network, or your deductibles are high, I might have a solution for you. It's called Impact Health Sharing. It's been a great product throughout the country now for a number of years. And what it is, it's a health sharing program, alternative to health insurance, significantly cheaper. You got a pretty good, clean bill of health for the most part. It's mostly for healthier type people. Tell you, it's been a good deal. You're looking at roughly $600 for families, $2,500 deductible for the entire family, not individual. Been a pretty darn good deal. Hit me up, 218-969-1380. Hit me up on Messenger, call, text, whatever you want to do. I can get you the information you need. I can get you a quick quote, see if we can maybe help you out with Impact Health Sharing. So, Bert, boy, we talked last year, man, about the late model situation over in eastern Wisconsin. And did you go to Shawano on Saturday, or you went over there, didn't you?
Yes, I did go to Shawano on Saturday.
And yeah, we saw on Facebook, actually, you messaged it over in the group that just off the cuff, hey, no late models this week. Sounds like maybe again this week, again, no late models. What's going on over there with the late model situation, and in general in eastern Wisconsin? What's going on? What's the state of dirt track racing look like over there?
Well, it depends which track you go to.
You go to 141 and they got shit going on. I tell you, they got jam packed for sure. Yeah, you're exactly right.
You like you said, you go to 141 and they have cars coming out of their ears every week. I didn't look at their official count last week, but they were up over 150 again last week. I think Shawano had, I don't know, 65 to 75, somewhere in that range in 4 divisions. And I haven't been to any other tracks yet this year, but Seymour seems to be getting a decent car count, and I heard Lexi's car counts are up a little bit. So there's one track that's really struggling, and A track that I've gone to since I was a kid. It's sad to see it struggle. I mean, hopefully it's just you know that they'll be able to get out, rectify the situation and get some cars showing up there again. But yeah, they made the announcement today. No late models this upcoming week. Late models will be racing there on the 14th of June, though. Shawano's actually going to have 2 nights of racing. They're going to race Friday night and Saturday night. Late models only on Saturday night because there's a tractor pull at Seymour that night. So Seymour won't be racing on that Friday night, the 13th. But yeah, unfortunately, I kind of saw this coming. The division kind of weathered the storm from when MJ, Pete Parker, Terry Avalink retired. But now this offseason, Ron Berna retired, Tom Nayert retired. I mean, those two retiring's not the reason, the only reason for what's going on right now. But yeah, in their post when they announced that no late model racing this week, they said that the Fair Board is working behind the scenes to try to come up with a plan for the division. So hopefully that involves working with other tracks, working with Dirt Kings, and I guess if I had to make a prediction, I think late models racing weekly at Shawano may be a thing of the past. I just don't know.
Well, let's be honest. You go throughout the whole entire country, weekly dirt track racing for dirt late models isn't overly common, right? I mean, you even
Right.
look through Wissota country. I mean, there are what, maybe 25% of the tracks have late models. I mean, and a lot of them maybe bring them in for a show or a couple shows a year, but man, it's an expensive class. And in some areas, it's great. Some areas, they got a surplus. That NLRA region up there, they got darn near 20 every single night. Fergus Falls, Cedar Lake had 31 cars, 31 late models for a regular show. So how are the other car counts? Are they pretty stable, pretty solid?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, in eastern Wisconsin, I mean, there's only a small pond of late model drivers to pull from, but modified sport mod stock cars, you have a pretty big pond of cars to pull from. And I mean, Shawano last week did 14 mods, 14 stock cars, like 14 sport mods. That's almost a bigger problem than the late model problem because there's more cars to pull from and you're not pulling them.
I heard a rumor. Size matters. Size matters. But in this case, bigger's not always better, right? Do you think maybe that's a big part of this deal? Is maybe they can take Shawano Speedway, and that's a big undertaking to shrink that track. That's a big undertaking. But do you think that's maybe a core reason why a lot of drivers are going other directions?
Well, I mean, I know there's drivers who do not like racing a half mile. They just don't want to race a half mile. And I mean, a driver made a good point on Facebook this past week. Because somebody said, well, you don't want to take the time to change the gears and blah blah blah. And then another driver, I won't name the name, mentioned, well, quick change. It doesn't take very long to change the gears. But a driver made the point, well, I don't have gears for a half mile track. I don't want to go out there and spend more money to buy gears for a half mile track that I'm only going to race maybe once, twice a year.
On the classes where it's a quick change, whoever the drivers that I don't want to spend the money is full of shit.
That's
Okay,
correct.
because you can get a set of quick change gears, yeah, $100, right? 9-inch gears, you get lightened rem
They're
polish
probably
9-inch gears. They're
Well,
damn near $1,000.
Well, this was a stock car driver, so I'm not sure if stock cars have quick changes.
They don't. I don't believe
Yeah.
they do. Yeah,
Yeah. So
they
that's
are
a valid
expensive,
point.
right?
Yeah.
But with that said, I mean, I like to buy new when I buy gears because you just don't know who had them. But there's a lot of rear end gears out there. If a person's looking, you can get them set for pretty reasonable. But you're right. I mean, quite honestly, I mean, you look at a lot of tracks even throughout Wissota. half miles in our region, Minnesota, Wisconsin, right? They're just not plentiful. It's a 3/8 mile is kind of the thing. Quarter miles, there's a few of them, but 3/8 miles is the most common. And the half mile tracks are struggling. Viking
I mean,
Speedway had like 10 of everything last week too in
I mean,
Alexandria.
I think the size of the track is a big factor. I think that's probably the biggest factor. There's politics behind the scene that is also a factor. Some drivers don't like the way the track is run, and they bring up examples from 30 years ago when somebody got screwed over and whatnot. But I think the size of the track is probably the biggest factor. Um, now, but now you're to the point where you're not drawing a lot of cars. Do you even go through the expense on the wishful thinking that you're going to get more cars?
Quiet. Don't say that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to take some people passionate about dirt track racing over there to step up. I mean, it's tough to get the funding for that. I don't know what the cost would entail. The material's there, right? They just got to kind of reshape it if they can get a sponsorship with an excavating company,
Yeah.
whatever it takes. But
Well, and
man,
see, to me, it would be an advantage to the fairgrounds itself if they would shorten the track, because they're landlocked in the middle of a city. So that would create more space for other activities during the fair and that sort of thing throughout the year too.
yeah, exactly right. So yeah, I guess we'll have to we'll stay tuned, right? We'll see how
But
things go, and hopefully it gets better.
I just want to. I don't know what their plans are. I haven't talked to them, but who knows? Maybe Red Cedar will gain two more drivers out of this because Andy Carl and Chris Ortel, they live in central Wisconsin. So if they're looking for a place to go, maybe they'll go race the Red Cedar.
Yeah, Red Cedar's Friday. They can still do both. They can go to Red
Well,
Cedar and
right.
and they can go to Shawano. So they should do that. But yeah, Cedar Lake or whatever it may be. Man, I hope not. I mean, we don't want to see racetracks struggle no matter where they are. So hopefully they can get her together. Changa, I'm going to jump over to you now.
Well, what I saw there last week at that Challenge Series race, it appears that the surface that they got on that track is actually some pretty decent clay, and I think Bert hit the nail on the head. I mean, if that place, like, it would be a racy racetrack, and sure, there might have been a little bit of character, but if you weren't going 600 miles an hour, if it was a little smaller, I think it'd be a racy little racetrack that would appeal to the masses.
Yeah,
Right.
rough tracks on a half mile are totally different than a small track.
100%.
And I mean, last week I think the track wasn't as rough as it was the week before. Um, Now, through the first part of the features, everybody was fighting for the bottom, where the previous week they had it a lot wetter, so everybody was running the cushion. But then they started sprinkling some water up in the upper groove in between each feature, and then the high groove came along for the later features. And actually, the guy who won the sport mod feature, he spun early in the race, had to start in the back, came back on the high side, passed everybody, and won the feature. So, they're still figuring out the clay.
She's a work in progress. Speaking of a work in progress, we'll go the other direction. Not a half mile. We're going to go down to a quarter mile bull ring flat track, pretty flat, a little bit of banking, not much. But Hibbing Speedway, under the new promotership of XR Events, Barry Braun and his crew, they got their season underway. I made a bold prediction, guys, a little while back. They ain't going to race till at least mid-June. I was wrong. Technically, it might have been June. We'll get to that in a little bit, but it was May. They got underway Saturday. Changa, you got a chance to watch a little bit of the races over at the Hibbing Speedway. The crowd was impeccable. I'm telling you what, people like, a little bit of anticipation for new things happening, and the crowd was great. What are your takeaways from night number one over at the Hibbing Speedway, Hibbing, Minnesota?
Oh, just like any dirt track on any given night, some of the races were just a bore and they were one groove, but there was a couple of them races that, the right time of night where the track was pretty racy and it was pretty exciting. Like you said, it's a work in progress. The concession stands are I just saw today that they got the new kitchen in. They were only able to do a few little items in the concession stand, so they brought in some food trucks. But the reviews from the drivers seem to be positive. People are enjoying, the pit area. They feel like that's a lot better. I haven't heard anybody say the track's worse, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, I would have to say it's a success. Anytime you put more people in the stands, that's obviously a success to me.
Well, I got some takeaways. So the track. We'll start with the track. Yes, it was marbly, it was dirty, but it was fast, right? They were hustling. They were kind of hauling the mail. But here's the deal. At the pit meeting, Barry brought up at the pit meeting, said, look, I want to put tires down on the bottom, and the drivers don't like tractor tires on the bottom. They don't like it, right? Here's the deal. I have no issue with tractor tires being on the bottom of a racetrack as long as the track prep is good and you're not all fighting for the 6 inches around the tires. Right? If you got a good racetrack, tires don't matter. Well, he said at the pit meeting, fine, we'll go without the tires tonight, okay? But when you start running through the infield and marble up the whole racetrack and wreck the program, they're coming back. Guess what? Tires are coming back Saturday. They are going to have tires around the bottom. And quite honestly, it makes their job easier. I mean, nobody wants to hit a tire. I mean, we know Kraus hits a lot of them. We just know that. That's what he does. But the fact of the matter is, when you got tires, you got a barrier on the bottom that allows you to work the racetrack, and I think it's going to be a lot better. The crowd was impeccable. I saw some people whining, that they didn't even have an American flag for the national anthem. Well, they would have. They do now. They do now. But the people that ran the track before, and it's not all of them, there's some core people in that previous group. They literally took the flags. They took the American flag. That's why there was no concession, right? They took half the shit out of the concession. Whatever. He had to go buy that stuff. It is what it is. Barry's not on social media whining about any of this. He's like, I just got to do what I got to do, and I can't worry about any of that. I got to look forward, right? And when I first watched it, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of on the bottom, but the B mod race was pretty good. Tristan Labarge kind of rolled the middle in the super stock race, and Dalton Carlson came from deep to second. So there was some decent racing. I'm not worried necessarily about that because I do know Barry's not afraid of, if the track's not how we want it, we're going to completely make a bunch of changes and rework the whole thing if we have to. It's great. What's great about the whole program in Hibbing is this: the excitement of the fans. I looked at a lot of different stuff on social media, and I honestly, at first, I was expecting people to be like, oh man, it was dusty. It was one lane. Well, it's been a dusty one lane shithole for 20 years. What are we talking about, right? So they were excited that the track had some speed, and there was a lot of excitement there, and that culture is so needed. The culture of racing is strong in Hibbing. We just got to give him some time to, so let me ask you this. So Bert, he had two options up in Hibbing, right? Because there's a lot of shit that wasn't ready, right? I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in Hibbing not ready. But he could have said, you know what, screw it. We're not opening until the beginning of July, and we're just going to make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and everything done and all that. Fans are restless. Race car drivers got a lot of money in race cars. They want to race. So is it better for him to be like, we're going to race. It's a work in progress. We're going to get this stuff going as the season goes on. Is it better to just get out there, race, and kind of work as we go? Or is it better to be like, we're going to take another month off and we'll see you in July?
Well, like you said, I mean, race fans and racers, they're anxious. And as long as as long as all the safety, as long as it's safe to race there and it's safe for the spectators and the drivers, then I think it's all right to go out there and race, even if it's a work in progress. Because I mean, if you wait till July, people make other plans. They may not come there and watch the races and that sort of thing. I mean, I kind of compare it to me writing a reporter writing a story for the paper. You could work on that story forever and forever and make it better and make it better, but there's a deadline. You got to hit that deadline. You got to get it out there, whether it's perfect or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Changa, did you happen to notice what they got going on in the infield up there in Hibbing?
I did. It looks like they're building like a go-kart track or something in there.
That is happening. That is kind of cool. A lot of us have talked about it for years. Oh man, they should get a go-kart track. Somebody should do a go-kart track. Well, guess what? He's doing it. They're doing the go-kart, not talking about doing it. They're
Right.
doing it, right? And that's gonna, just like anything, you get it started, probably, I don't know what the exact plans are for it, but anytime that you can get the youth involved in the area, and there is a ton of racing families on the Iron Range, right? And the closest go-kart track, I think is in Superior. I think is the closest one, right?
They're not one in Brainerd?
That's Superior's closer than Brainerd.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there is one. I guess I have no idea if there's one in Brainerd. I'm not sure. But the fact is, there's not been one on the range. When I was super young, there was one up in like Hoyt Lakes had one that I didn't know about till I got a little bit older. But Hibbing needs one. And I'm excited for that because that can keep that excitement and that enthusiasm around. So they got a lot of things happening up there. And I think we just got to take a step back, right? And let them roll through the process and get it to where it needs to be. And we can critique every little thing, but hey, I'm pretty darn thankful that somebody stepped up and he's actually willing to keep that place alive. I can tell you that much as a fan of racing. So let's jump into a few interesting tidbits, but first a shout out to our buddy Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solutions. So if you're over in western Minnesota, north and South Dakota, if you farm, right? Well, what do we know? Bert, drivers get disqualified for putting the wrong chemicals on their tires because it's an advantage, right? They get disqualified for that type of stuff. Well, if we know the right chemicals are an advantage there, guess what? The right chemicals, the right stuff in your spray packages is also an advantage. Well, he has that. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, and learn about all the different stuff they have that can give you better yields, help you make more money. And Brad's a racer. He's passionate about racing. He's passionate about farming. He's passionate about helping people. Give him a call, Brad Parsons, Soil and Egg Solutions. So, WISSOTA. Okay, we're just gonna start with WISSOTA. Okay, we talked a little bit last week about the new shock rule, right? They come out and they basically put a new rule out that you have to be able to push down, fully compress all four of your shocks, right? Without dumping the gas pressure out of it. And we talked about it's a stupid ass rule for a ton of different reasons. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, Bert, let's say you decide to start racing. Okay. If you build a car according to the rule book, right? And all of a sudden the sanctioning body decides we're gonna make a change. We're gonna change the rules, right? Would you expect them to somehow get a hold of you and let you know that they did that? Right? They don't do that. They literally put something on their website, maybe a little blurb on Facebook. Why doesn't, and maybe all sanctioning bodies are the same, I don't know, but why don't they take 15 seconds away from their photo shoots and literally email every single driver in WISSOTA, because they have their email addresses on the database. You have to fill out your email address when you buy a license. Why not shoot out a mass email address or mass email with the updated rule, how they're going to tech it, why they did it, get some information out there? That's one thing that should happen. But number two, right? I had a ton of people reach out and they're pissed. Drivers are super mad about this rule because the left rear of these cars, Bert, you're a race fan. You've never raced. But is it fair to say that the left rears of these cars are jacked up more, rocking around the corner than they were years past? The left rears stay up, right? Well, you can do it trail braking, but that's a lot of compression in those left rear shocks, right? A lot of low speed. Well, guess what? If you have a certain shock on your left rear that's designed to do that, there's a balance you have to have. Your left front, right rear shock is all part of a package that corresponds with that left rear shock. Okay. Now, is it fair to say racing's gotten really expensive? And
We've talked a lot about that on this show.
Is it fair to say that there's a lot of people that are just trying to figure out how to keep their shit on the racetrack or even go to the racetrack or pay their bills, right? Money's tight, right?
100%.
Well, this don't hurt the big budget teams, right? This don't hurt a person like, and nothing, I like this guy a lot, but this don't hurt Shane Zabrowski. It don't hurt him, right? Does not matter, because guess what? Shane's car owner going to go ahead and just buy another set. Not a big deal, right? Or if you're Don Shaw, got a lot of money, he's a business owner, did what he had to do to get the money, but he has that disposable income to where he can just go buy a set. Not a big deal. But now you take some of these lower budget racers that are literally scraping every last penny they can together to get out there on the racetrack. They go out there, they buy themselves a set of shocks, and they're like, well, holy shit, I just spent $1,500 on a set of shocks. Now I don't have a lot of money, but I haven't had a good set of shocks now for a couple of years. I finally bit the bullet and did it, and now they freaking changed the rule, and now you got to send it all back to get it redone. That's bullshit, right? First of all, changing rules like this mid-stroke is just absolutely nonsense. If you're gonna do this shit, right, you do it in November. You don't do it in frickin' the middle of June, or and I guess it was May technically. You don't do that in May. You do that prior to the season. It's hurting. It's hurting the small budget teams. It's killing their pocketbooks. It's not good for racing. And I don't know who's in charge of this decision. I don't know whose idea it was, but I tell you what, a lot of times we said, man, boy, maybe they need to get some new people in the teching realms. Well, I don't think it's getting better. I think it's getting worse, right? I think it's getting worse. And I don't know. What do you think about that, Changa? I mean, you're a low budget racer. You ran a street stock, a pure stock. You got a big family. I mean, how pissed off would you be as a low budget racer? You just spent $1,500 on a set of shocks, and then they tell you, well, by the way, you can't run them anymore.
Well, and yeah, and that's just not even in it. I mean, some of these guys are spending way the hell more than $1,500 on a set of shocks, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna kill your. Let's be honest, right? You take your Midwest mods and your super stocks. Them guys are, the Midwest mods, and we'll go into this later. I mean, have become a beginner class, whether it be right or wrong. It's people that, Hornets and pure stocks. I'm above that, but Midwest mods is my beginner class, and you're spending that kind of money to put this thing together to go out there, and it's just you're just scraping money together to have this thing out there, and now you're at, a quarter of the way into the season, and you're like, all right, well, you better check all your stuff, because what worked before isn't going to work anymore, and now you need to go buy a bunch of other stuff. Well, they're just barely scraping by enough to get a car on the racetrack, hoping to God that they don't tear stuff up so they can go to the next race.
Exactly. So, yeah, so that's enough of that. That's our thoughts on that. We've had a lot of people reach out. I talked to a lot of people over this past week that were not happy, and I just don't have the answers on what a person has to do to change that. I mean, drain the swamp, I guess. Get some people in there that have a clue. I'm not really sure. Here's a rule for you, Bert. You're sitting in the grandstands, okay? Would you say that you should feel reasonably safe in the grandstand that shit ain't gonna fly into the crowd and smack you in the head, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's rules in place. Like, you got to bolt on your wheel covers. I don't think you can run left side wheel covers because they don't want them flying through the crowd like a frisbee. Your muffler, right? That's got to be mounted properly. And if it falls off, automatic disqualification. Lead falls off, disqualification. They got these things on the right rear, and we see them. We see them on open late models. We're watching Eldora right now. They all got them. But breakaway deck bars on the right rear. So when they slap the wall, it's kind of an aluminum triangle piece that kind of flips back so the whole spoiler don't come off. Got a picture here a couple weeks back. I forgot to talk about it. One of those literally flew off like a frisbee and smoked somebody's air cleaner. It was stuck in their air cleaner on their car. I mean, I get it. I get why they want those instead of just a straight T-bar back there. I mean, I never had an issue. Yeah, we bent a lot of T-bars because I hit a lot of shit, right? I mean, and Bobby Pierce hits a wall a lot driving around the high side, but they got to start looking at this shit. If they're going to have breakaway pieces on the car, that don't even make sense, right? In what universe is it Well, we're going to have a part on your car that's designed to fly off the race car and break away. How does that make sense? Right? So that is absolutely stupid. So I'd like to hear some comments from other people on this, what they think. But when I saw those pictures, I'm like, that breakaway idea, not a good idea. Bert, how big of a you want to talk about car count being bad at Shawano? You take a club run track or something like that, it'll shut a place down. They'll never open again if something flies through the crowd and kills somebody. So they got to start rethinking some of this stuff. So Pat Kelly, huge racing family. Of course, we all know that Kelly Automotive back in the day, and you got Mike Kelly Jr. and Sean Kelly, racing family. Well, Pat Kelly's been pretty involved with the USRA late models that we don't really talk about too often, right? We call them B late models and whatever, right? We don't talk about them often. And he's like, I get it. He goes, like a little love for the class. And he said they're working pretty darn hard on getting this deal going. They've had 7 shows so far this year. What do you think they're averaging for a car count in those 7 shows? Now, keep in mind, right? Most tracks around the area, if you get 12 to 15 of pretty much everything, that's kind of what you get, right? What do you think they're averaging for cars for the USRA late models in the 7 events they've ran so far this year?
23.
Is this at different tracks or?
Yeah, they kind of have they've had some races at Cedar, Menominee, I think's had them. I think they were up in Eagle River. They went up to Eagle River. Rice Lake, they might have been at Rice Paddy one night.
18.
23.
21. 21. A low of 17, a high of 25. That's pretty solid, right? We talk about them.
Maybe they need to come to Shawano.
1000%. They're a hell. So think about this, right? I'm going to talk about this in a minute, right? So of the 7 races, we talk about they're B late models. All they do is crash, spin out, freaking bunch of road hazards out there, right? You hear that all the time. Of the 7 races, 4 of them went green to checkered with no cautions. They had one rough night, right? And then they had one, I think there was a caution right away, to start the race. But they've been going pretty green. There's not been a lot of yellows in these things. And here's the deal. So you think back to when Super Stocks first started. In Wissota country, for years, Super Stocks was the class. Midwest Mods is now the class with the numbers. But for years and years, starting in the early 90s, Super Stocks had by far the biggest numbers. That was the class, right?
Yeah, I remember the Wissota 100 at Cedar Lake. It was like heat race after heat race after heat race is Super Stocks.
Hey, the mods and lates had to run heat races on a different night because the Super Stocks they got their own night. We were so freaking special in that class. Yeah. We got our own night. Mods and lates had to share a night, and they're like, you know what? You mods and lates can run on freaking Thursday when nobody comes. Friday, premier night of racing, Wissota 100. That's Super Stock night, right? So that's what it was. And there was over 100 of them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But even prior to Wissota, you know what Super Stocks were? Limited late models.
Well, they kind of look like late models.
They do, right? But they started out as limited late models. They literally were essentially the same car. Hell, they had quick changes in the 80s, even in the Super Stock class. And in fact, me and Changa were talking about it up at Thunder Bay at the Riverview Raceways. If you finished in the top 4 in the Diamond, so-called Super Stocks then feature, all you had to do was take your 2-barrel carb off, put a 4-barrel on, put a bigger spoiler on, put the late model tires on instead of the Super Stock tires. Guess what? You go race with the late models. They're basically the same car, right? Fast forward to Wissota country, Super Stocks started as late models where you cut the front clip off and you put a stock front clip on, make a couple changes. So it was always a limited late model type of deal. That's kind of what it was. Well, now Super Stocks are their own class and they got a special place in my heart. But in some of these areas that don't really have a Super Stock car count, they don't have big numbers, maybe just going to the limited late models, the USRA late models instead of the Super Stocks might be a deal. Or vice versa, right? You go down to the south. Up in Wissota country, the Wissota late model, which this may offend some people. It is what it is, but it's a fact. A Wissota late model is a limited late model. Plain and simple.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am watching late models right now at
Yeah.
Eldora. That's late models. Wissota late models, limited late models, right? And so up in Wissota country, that is the premier late model division because they don't have super late models. So the 604s, we call them the B late models, is kind of the JV roster, we call it, right? Well, you go down to the southern part of the country, the 604 late models, which is the USRA late models up here, that is their premier class. They don't run super late models on a weekly basis. That's traveling series, right? And they have, different stuff like that. The 604 late models, that is their premier division. So you're right, Bert. A track like Shawano and places like that, maybe it is a better alternative for them to say, look, we're going to transition over to the 604s because it's cheaper, right? I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably at least 15 years ago. Shawano used to have two late model divisions. They had, well, they were with Soda late models at that time, and then they had fast track late models. And the fast track late models, younger drivers who wanted to race late models got into that division, and then it seemed like the veterans from the late model division, some of them put cars together to help with the car numbers and also to race more. But yeah, I mean, they supported two late model divisions. Then they merged them into one and dropped out of Wissota, and then it's just gradually been a decline since then. I think it's something that needs to be researched in eastern Wisconsin. Like you said, Eagle River, I believe they race up there weekly at Eagle River. And, you know, if eastern Wisconsin has to, if they want late model racing, they may have to, I mean, they should research it and they may have to seriously consider that.
We heard one of my favorite quotes, probably wasn't when I was racing, but on Days of Thunder is, oh, holy crap.
Yeah,
Trey
no shit.
Mills throwing a haymaker there on Cade Dillard.
He just junked Dillard.
Dude, fuck Mills. Dillard, I have Dillard in the draft. He's my guy, right? He just knocked him out of the feature. Little punk kid. God dang it, that sucks. How many transfer to the feature here, Bert? Top three?
Two. Mills is in the transfer.
Dillard was second. He's fourth now. That is not good. So, but racers, we're all in, infantile egomaniacs, right? And I've heard racers say, oh, I don't want no stupid crate motor and blah, 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 right? We got to have big power. And then you watch that same very driver that literally blazes his tires all across the racetrack, can't hook it up. It's like, you could probably be faster with a crate motor, okay?
Well, and in eastern Wisconsin, that used to be the case too. It's like, IMCA modified drivers. I'm not going to race. If they bring crate motors, I'm not racing crate motors, blah, blah, blah. And now almost everybody has a crate motor. There's a few holdouts, but pretty much everybody has a crate motor in IMCA modifieds.
I've always said we don't need to have more classes of cars, but we got to have classes that make sense financially for the people racing in the area. And a Wissota late model right now racing for at a lot of tracks, 600, 700 to win and have $100,000 race car, you got to be out of your mind. In no universe is that a good idea, right? We hear our late model guys and they're right. They're like, we shouldn't even unload our cars for less than 2,500 to win ever. Well, there ain't no track in Wissota country that can afford to pay that. That can't happen. But they're right. With the money you have in your car, they should be racing for that. But that's just not a thing. So, yeah, I don't know that. You know who's going to be running a 604 late model here in a couple weeks?
Yes, I do.
Ryan Newman. How about that?
I thought you were going to say Ryan Aho.
No, not Ryan Aho. Not Ryan Aho. He's he probably got to go on a little bit of a weight loss plan here to slide in the door. Of course, Ryan Newman's not small.
If this Ryan Newman thing is anything like the Tony Stewart thing, he's probably got a freaking full-fledged late model racing against the freaking 604s. But
he's going to run Don Shaw's car.
Yeah.
So, and Don Shaw he's run some 604, and I think he's ran 602 stuff also. But Don Shaw has ran some 604 stuff, over the winter. He's kind of traveled a little bit. I don't know if he did last year, but Don Shaw put a car together for him. And June 20th, he's going to race it at Fergus Falls, the I-94 Speedway. And then Saturday, June 21st, he's going to be over at the Cedar Lake Speedway. So that's pretty cool. I was a big Ryan Newman fan back in the day, and he's been out of it, but I think that's still going to be a pretty good draw. And, what do you think? Do you think he can slide up into the podium finish? Do you think he can maybe snag a win on one of those?
No.
I'll say no.
I'm going to disagree.
You're right. You're right. I mean, because Don Shaw's got good shit. I mean,
you don't think Don Shaw's going to let Ryan Newman be like, all right, Ryan, go on. Let's Thursday night. We're going to race Friday. Burn as many laps as you want to kind of get comfortable in this thing.
We don't care how many tires we burn through. We're going to get this thing dialed in. You're going to get comfortable. I agree.
And Ryan Newman was a race car driver. He's a good driver.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's jump into the race of the week here. The event, in my opinion, the event of the week this past weekend. I watched, guys, over 35 events last week. I watched a lot of racing, a lot. And don't get me wrong, some of it I kind of fast forward, just to hit the high points. And Mississippi Thunder Speedway down in Fountain City, Wisconsin, easily the clear number one event of last week. Best racing, best event. It's not even close. And there were some other tracks that had some pretty good racing. There were some that's like, they need to do better. But Mississippi Thunder was a banger. Modified World Championships, $100,000 to win. We know who won that race, right? Drake Troutman got it done.
Yes.
So I do have some tidbits here, but let's jump right into it. What stuck out to you as far as let's do a couple high points, and then we'll come back on the other side of it and be like, if you had to nitpick something, what would it be? So let's start with the high points, okay? Bert, what stuck out to you? What was the high point of that event in your mind that you're like, man, that was good? What they do right?
Well, I think the quality of drivers that were there, the racing was good. They had the track. Now they had rain before the first night, correct? So the track was kind of heavy for qualifying, but it was really racy throughout. It wasn't as heavy later on, and it was really racy. It wasn't one from the. I don't think Troutman started on the front row.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, it wasn't one from the front row, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and he was quick. So yeah, you're right. The racing was good, which means the track prep was good. You have that many cars, and it never locked down. It didn't get bone dry, right? We saw another $100,000 to win mod show that was not as good earlier this year. That was black top to bottom and almost unwatchable. The racing surface down there and what they've done with that place is just unbelievable. Chongo, what stuck out to you? What was your high point?
I don't know that it's necessarily a high point, but what stuck out to me was this year the USRA cars didn't dominate, right? It was kind of the UMP cars seemed to be a little bit faster. The down point to me is that there's still no realistic way that a Wasota car can even go to that race and be competitive, right? I mean,
so you're gonna switch right into the downside. Okay.
I'm saving my down points.
All right, okay.
Was I not supposed to do that?
Bert, he didn't understand the assignment.
Oh no,
He didn't understand the assignment. So the high point you talked about.
Let's be honest. I'm watching Thunder Bay over here. I'm watching Eldora over here. I might not be paying as good of attention as I need to. I apologize.
Bert's got to pay you better. All right.
I didn't get a paycheck for the last year, so that's good. Well, that's not true, but
Troutman might have started in the front row. He was close to the front. If he wasn't in the front row, right in front of me.
But there's a lot of passing. Rodney Sanders went to the back after a spin and came back up to top 5, top 10 for sure.
Yeah, Rodney Sanders got back up to 4th. The prelims, because they ran split features each night. Drake Troutman, Tyler Nicely, they won the prelims night one. Lucas Lee, Tanner Mullins won night two, and then Drake Troutman. So 4 of the 5 features, as Changa alluded to, were UMP cars. Okay, now the racing was fantastic, and a little touch on this, and I guess I'll touch on that when I get to my my downside of this. We can roll right into what Changa said. There's no realistic way a WISSOTA car can compete. He's not wrong, right? They got 80 laps. Yes, they have to have a fuel stop, which we'll get to that in a minute. That's going to be my downside. But the fact is, the UMP cars, right? And RTJ was very vocal on social media. He's hasn't been extremely vocal on social media, but he was pretty vocal about this one. So they don't have a rule package where they take and give a little here, take a little there. It's literally run your own rules. Okay. Well, UMP, their engines are roughly 100 horse more than a USRA USMTS car. So they got big stoves in the UMP cars, right? Well, the USMTS cars are a good 50 to 60 horse more because they can have more cubic inch than a WISSOTA car. So that means a WISSOTA car is 150 horse shy of a UMP car. That's a lot, especially on a racetrack that knows what a water truck is, right? So that's a huge deal. Another thing in UMP, they didn't have blades for a while. They couldn't run spoilers for a while. They can now. So they got 5-inch blades on the back and an extra 100 horse. Another UMP rule is you can't groove tires in UMP. They let the UMP cars groove tires at Mississippi Thunder. The USMTS USRA cars were pissed off about that. They were not happy. I was surprised that they let them do that because it's like, well, how many more advantages do we want to give these guys, right? They were not happy. So the UMP, there was definitely a big advantage for the UMP guys this year. But talk a little bit more about that, Changa. So the WISSOTA guys, I mean, what's your thoughts on that whole deal? I mean, the highest finishing, Bert, if you had to guess, the highest finishing WISSOTA driver, where do you think they finished?
Well, I know the answer, but if I didn't know the answer, I mean, I would say no WISSOTA driver even made the feature, correct?
I think the highest finishing one was 16th in the C main.
Yeah.
Zach Benson, I believe, was the highest finishing one. Nobody in the B, nobody in the A. It ain't because the drivers ain't good enough. It's because they have cars they just can't compete. They're just, the rule package doesn't make sense. That's why. So Changa, take it away on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's supposed to be a unified rules deal, right? I mean, somehow, some way, whether it be cutting the laps, a weight break, a bigger spoiler, a something, they have to allow in order if they want to draw any of the WISSOTA cars, or if the WISSOTA cars want to be relevant there, they have to make some sort of change for that to happen. And we've talked about this at length over the last 2 years for these shows, but now we're going to go to Ogilvy in a few weeks and try to do it all over again with Barry. What's he going to learn from this? What's he going to do for our WISSOTA guys? Maybe he can set a precedent to allow for our guys. But yeah, I mean, the fuel stop, nobody likes a fuel stop. It sucks. It does. But nobody wants a 30 lap feature either, right? I mean, we want to have a 50 lap feature. It gives everybody a chance if you had a little bit of a bad draw, where you went out for time trials, where whatever, that it gives you a little bit of a chance. You got to have some chance, but God, I mean, fuel stops suck.
So now, see, Bert, he's fucking cheating. He just
I
does
know
not
he's
understand the rules.
cheating.
He keeps like he's got his own. He's taking our stuff away now. Good. So let's jump. So Changa, you said that, boy, Mississippi Thunder should, they should find a way to, unify the rules deal here better and give the WISSOTA guys a chance. I call bullshit. Okay, here's why I call bullshit. It's not their responsibility for WISSOTA to be competent enough to have a fucking modified that is relevant in dirt track racing. Okay,
That's true too. That is true.
This. WISSOTA Modifieds is quite honestly the dumbest class in all of dirt track racing, and it's not close. It's not close. We got multiple six-figure to win races, big races all around the region, UMP, USMTS, this ANA mod stuff, right? And WISSOTA mods are just not competitive. So option A is they look at least the USRA rules package and be like, all right, let's make a couple changes and get on the same freaking page as somebody, right? We can go up and they can go, because really the main difference between the USRA deal and WISSOTA is cubic inch. They can have a little bit more cubic inch. I think the heads are basically the same. So that's essentially it. That doesn't cost, cubic inch don't cost a lot more money, right? So get on the same page there. Because we have some damn good drivers in WISSOTA Modifieds, but they're not going to go down freaking to that race, bring a knife to a gunfight. Makes no sense. Why would they do that? Like, go racing where you have a chance to win. Why would you go to that? It makes no sense, right? That show this weekend, we had some we had some pretty freaking good WISSOTA mod drivers that were there. They just were not competitive, right? So that's one thing. The flip side of it is they can go the other direction. If you're not going to develop a rules package within WISSOTA, right, that allows you to run UMP, USMTS, and be competitive that way, well, then maybe they need to dial it back and go more the direction of IMCA. Because I'll give you an example. Clay County, Bert, over that we're picking that show over in Iowa. They had 31 mods there on Monday. Okay. How many different states do you think the mod drivers came from? 31. So probably not as many as you think, but 31 mods.
5.
16.
I knew the answer.
16. Well, the real question here, I guess, is why the hell, if there's 16 different states represented, there was only 7 drivers from Iowa at a mod. I don't know what the hell the deal was there, but there is no universe in which a WISSOTA event in any class, right? If you're a promoter and you're listening to this, put your ego to the side for just a minute, right? How fun would it be to have a special event when you have a special and look at the lineup and be like, holy shit, we got drivers here from 10, 12, 15 different states. That's freaking cool. That's good for racing. On the flip side, your drivers have an opportunity to race all over the country. IMCA Modifieds, you can race them from coast to coast, right? North, south, east, west. And I know Man Bun Dan, he's got his hair up in the little man bun there, and kind of whining like a little schoolgirl. I hate IMCA Modifieds. I've seen some pretty damn good IMCA mod shows. I've seen some pretty darn good ones. And you take a look at some of the drivers that come out of IMCA mods. Ricky Thornton Jr., right? Ring a bell. Dylan Thornton, Ryan Gustin, right? There's some freaking really good drivers that have come out of IMCA mods that Dallin Murdy, right? I mean, there's some dang good drivers. So IMCA mods, the fans don't know the freaking difference. I don't care which way they go, right? We all have our opinions on that. Just get off the island. Get off the island. WISSOTA's imploding in all directions. I mean, if you look at the landscape of literally how many tracks that you can even race a WISSOTA mod at, it's sad. And then you look at the car counts and there's 8 of them, 6 of them, 9 of them. It's like, what the fuck? This is stupid. Bert?
Well, not a lot of other people say this, but this is my humble opinion. All the pros that you just listed for IMCA Modifieds, I think is a fairly big reason for the decline of late model racing in eastern Wisconsin. The drivers don't want to move up because they can race for more money in an IMCA modified. They can travel to more tracks in an IMCA modified than they can in a late model that races in eastern Wisconsin.
You're not wrong. Changa, when we got done winning our last championship in 07 in the super stocks, Frank Beffer came up and he says, you want to go late model or you want to go modified racing? I'm like, shit, you're paying, I'll do whatever, right? And at first he's like, well, if we go late model racing, we can go to speed weeks and all that. I'm like, whoa, just so you understand, that's a different late model. Okay, you're not bringing a Wissota late model down there. I said, now we can bring a mod down there, which is essentially the same. You're gonna have to have a different stove under the hood, but you're doing super late model racing, a whole different deal. That's like the creme de creme, right? But the modified deal, we looked at the landscape of Wissota, just like Eastern Wisconsin, and we're like, holy shit! If Hibbing rains out on a Saturday, I can go to 10 different racetracks. Yeah. Hibbing rains out on a Saturday in a late model. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna go nowhere because Ogilvy and Hibbing don't race on the same night, so you're not going there. You go to Cedar. They're not Wissota, right? There's no Wissota late model track in Wisconsin on a Saturday. There's one in Minnesota, right? I mean, you can't go nowhere. Wissota modified or IMCA modified in your realm, right? You can go race a lot of different places, and so I mean, and that's where you're spot on. I think you're exactly right, Bert. So, Bert, what was your if you had to nitpick, kind of like to be balanced here. If you had to nitpick the show down there, was there anything that you would nitpick on it?
Well, Changa was trying to steal my answer, and it hurts me to say this, but I have to kind of agree with Ryan on what he said last week. That fuel stop just killed all the momentum of that race.
How's that taste coming out of your mouth, Bert? You need to get a little mouthwash right now. What do you need to do here, there, guy?
Yeah, that just killed all. I mean, Jake Tim, I don't know what he did to his car, or well, they could only change a tire and add fuel, but he was charging before that caution or before the fuel stop.
He pounded the cushion or something with the right front and broke some shims or whatever in the shim stack on the right front, basically almost like a bump stop. The right front just started hammering into the ground and it messed his whole night up. There's a guy right there that he's like, no, fuel stops are stupid, right? He wins if there's no fuel stop, they go 40, 50 laps in that deal without a fuel stop. Jake Tim is $100,000 richer. He's winning that race. There's nobody gonna. His mojo was going before that. And a buddy of mine, Derek, he messaged me and he goes, why do we have timeouts in racing? We got to get rid. There's no reason to stop the race. That's and I get it, right? Because you guys talked about it. You're like, well, if you're racing for $100,000, I mean, if they race already for 40 laps or whatever for $5,000, I do agree, a little bit more laps, but on the verge of right where we don't need to have a fuel stop because we don't need a timeout, we don't need a fuel stop, we don't need any of that stuff. You're right. I believe I 1,000% agree. It wrecked the whole momentum of that event, and I think Jake Tim he would definitely agree with us right now too. So, yeah, we're on the same page. That's the one that I had too. But overall, unbelievable event, and I got to tip my cap to Bob and Tyrone and Trenton and everybody down there at Mississippi Thunder because they do it right. I mean, that place, it looks immaculate. The racing was good. I mean, they paid great. It's pretty hard to find a whole lot to nitpick. The last deal, there's always something, but man, what a banger of an event. They should be pretty proud of that, and I would expect to see that back in 2026. I haven't seen anything yet. So let's jump into a little who's hot and who's not before we get into our weekend recap here. So we can go Bert, Changa, and then myself. And Changa. Don't jump right into who's not. Just do who's hot.
Hey,
come back.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't even have one person on my not list, so I'm going to have to wing this.
I do for sure. We might have the same. Bert.
I don't have anyone.
Who's hot?
I'm gonna go with local drivers this week. First I'm gonna go with Benji Lacrosse. He did go to Mississippi Thunder with his IMCA car. Did not do well in his preliminary night, so he went back home. Went to Seymour, then Friday night, finished 5th place in the feature in his modified. Then he went to 141. the next night and won the stock car feature and the modified feature. So he got two wins in one night at 141, and he won at 141 last week. I believe it was in the previous week in the mod. So he's been doing very well. I mean, he didn't do well at Mississippi Thunder, but he kind of had a knife in a gunfight in that deal. And so that is what it is. And then I'm going to go with Coy. I think it's Vlies. I think that's how it's pronounced. He has 3 wins this year, but he races at 141 Speedway, which gets like 40 sport mods every week. And then he races Luxembourg. I'm not quite sure what their car counts are. But he's raced in 11 features so far this year, and he's finished in the top 10 in all 11 of the features, and he has 3 wins.
Nice. All right. Good job, Changa. Who's hot?
KOL 34, Colton Brower, right?
34J. He has a J on the back of that now for his dad who passed away. So I've seen on my race pass it's KOL 34 at some tracks and 34J at some other tracks, but I believe it's 34J for, of course, Jeff Brower. So we'll throw a little bit of that on there, but yeah.
So anyhow, in a 9-day stretch, the guy had 7 wins and a second. In a 9-day stretch, 7 wins in a second. He's got 10 feature wins this year. He was kind of on the cold list a couple weeks ago, and now he is red hot and the leader in the clubhouse at the time for the national championship point race, right? So what hell of a job in the last week and a half for him.
Well, that's why, right? We'll take credit for that. We put him on the not list, and bam, he responded. There it is. It's just what we do here on the show. A lot of drivers, some drivers are like, "Oh man, why you put me on the not hot list? You're picking on me." You should really be thanking us when we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Joey Jensen, okay, 6 wins and 1 6th place finish since the 25th of last month. So, we're talking a week's time. He's got 6 wins between the Super and the B mod. Incredible. Had the kid, it just comes back and all he does is win, 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 right? So that's awesome. I had him on the list last week, Billy Kendall, right? 5 straight top 4s. Got his first win.
First with Soda late model win.
Yeah. I mean, so that's incredible. I mean, the guy is doing a great job. Yeah, I can keep going if you want, but I could leave a few for you if you need.
Yeah, we don't need to do the whole weekend recap at the hot list.
I can keep going, but if you want me to leave a few, I can.
All right. So when I say big money mod races, who would you say the hottest driver in modified racing is in big money mod races?
Jim Chisholm.
There's been 4 over the last year that have been, when I say big money, right? Mississippi Thunder had a pair of them for $100,000 to win. Salina High Banks, they had that $100,000. And then Hardo, Texas had a $50,000 Mod Wars, or I think it was Mod Wars down there. He got second at both Mississippi Thunder races. He won at Salina High Banks and he won at Hardo, Texas, $50,000. When the money's on the line on the big money mod races, he ain't finished worse than second. That is, and let's not forget he's your defending USMTS champion too. So in big time mod races, Jim Chisholm is red hot. With Soda late model, right? Structural buildings with Soda late model challenge series. Now everybody in our pickups, we're picking TPO, we're picking Searing, we're picking Sobraski. Might have been a rival of mine, kind of tough. I gotta spit it out, right?
You do.
Diamond Dave Moss had a weekend. Diamond Dave Moss, 2 seconds, 2/3 last week, and took over the Challenge Series point lead. Now, of course, we know what happened. We'll talk about that in a little bit with Cole Searing, but Dave Moss with a hell of a weekend, right? 2 seconds, 2/3, and we talk, Bird, like, man, we want to talk about the guys that aren't winning. Well, he didn't win, but it don't get much better than that. Average of a 2.5 on finishing position. the longest active win streak right now in Wissota racing, Troy Liker out west in the Midwest Mod division, he rattled off 6 straight. The only thing that's going to keep him out of victory lane is rain. That dude flat out wins. Them Likers out there are absolute rock stars. And Sheridan out there, they got that 10 grand to win deal coming up here just a couple weeks away. He's got to be one of the heavy favorites to win that. And then the last one here, just a guy that's been on winning races every single weekend on the podium. Literally, I don't think he's finished worse than fifth more than like one race in all of his races. Tyler Vernon's been really, really good this year in the mod and Midwest mod. So they're going green here. I see you guys are kind of looking down. I'm looking right now. Hudson O'Neill taking the lead through the middle.
About 8 wide on the front stretch.
You're right. So that's who I have. Jim Chisholm, Dave Moss, Troy Liker, Tyler Vernon. All right, Bert. Who's not?
I'm gonna go with the local driver, and it's not necessarily because of his performance on the track. It's Marcus Yare. He's a IMCA modified driver, multi-time Shawano Speedway modified track champion. He put together a stock car. Well, he raced a stock car a little bit last year too, but 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, he started racing a stock car. I think it was his first week at Shawano. In his heat race, his hood flew up while he was leading, and then he had to pull off. So I assume the hood pins weren't put in the front 2 places. And last week he went out there for his heat race in a stock car, and on the parade lap, boom, his hood came up in the front. So he came to the pits, and they just took the hood off, and then he went back out there and raced. He did win the feature later on that night, so he did redeem himself. But once, okay, but twice, okay. Now we have a problem.
Come on, guy. All right, Changa, did you figure out who's not yet?
I got one guy, and I'm going to keep going. He was on my list last week, and he's still on my list. I'll go with Brad Sweet, right? And we're going to touch on a little bit of Brad Sweet's cold, so I won't elaborate on it a little bit. But he's gone quite a while without winning a race.
Well, I got 2 here. Okay, one racer, one former racer. What do you want me to go first?
Former racer.
All right, Changa. Changa in our draft, Bert. Right? He's been good in the pick'ems. He's right there. Changa in the fucking Bromance, right? Down at Mississippi Thunder. I'm not shitting you. Bromance was literally picking all the Wissota guys just because he's like, well, I know Eric Lamb and I know Andy Jones, right? And he's taking all Wissota guys. Bromance beat Changa in the pick'ems draft, taking drivers that I'm like, why would he take these guys? Well, he still beat Changa. So Changa in the drafts, okay, is just a struggle bus. Then I'm going to go with Pat Window. Pat Dorr has been irrelevant. Again, we started out last year. We had him on the not hot list
every year.
Yeah, and then he got fast at the end. But Pat Dorr has just been, it's painful watching him because, I mean, he's literally one of the best. There's turbo shit all tore up. Shocker. Pat Dorr's one of the best to ever strap in a race car in our area. And it's not, I mean, he is absolutely in every class that he's been in has been awesome. And I don't know what he's got going on right now, but he's just not been real good. So Pat Dorr on the not hot list. All right. So let's give a shout out here. We're going to do our weekend recap. We're going to go class by class, kind of give some shout outs here. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to East Central Sports, one of our newer sponsors here, right down in Rush City, Minnesota, just north of the Twin Cities. They are your #1 source for pit bikes, kids ATVs, golf carts, Toro mowers, and a whole lot more. So if you go to the racetrack, if you go camping and you're like, man, I need a golf cart to get around. If you just want to golf and you want a golf cart, you need a pit bike, whatever it may be, that's your go-to. This guy, he's been around the racing industry, sponsors a lot of different events and race cars, and he's come on board with us. We appreciate Mac. And there's a discount. Mention that you heard about this on the One to Go show, and you're going to get $100 off. You can reach them 320-358-1994, You can check them out online, www.eastcentralsports.com. All right, weekend recap. Let's start with some late model action here. So I don't care what order. I'm gonna bat clean up here because I'm gonna let you guys talk. Bert, why don't you go first? Let's just do this in every class. We'll roll off with Bert. We'll go to Changa. We'll go to me. So Bert, this weekend, late model action, whether it be in the national scene, whether it be the local scene, whether I know there was no late models in Shawano, so you can't talk about them.
Well,
But
we haven't talked about Plymouth yet.
no,
Yeah, in eastern Wisconsin, Plymouth Dirt Track, they had their Super 6 late models racing on last Saturday. They had, I think, 20 late models, and it was a good race, but the last lap was the best of the race. Nick Avalink was leading. He led for a good portion of the race, and he was leading at the end. And Taylor Scheffler, with like 2 laps to go, he got to the inside of him, but Nick was able to fend him off. And then on the last lap, Taylor put a slider on Nick in 1 and 2, and Nick didn't lift and got into the back of Taylor Scheffler and kind of pushed him up towards the wall, and Nick got back by him and got the win. I think Taylor held on for second, but it was a good finish.
it was exciting. Yeah, he threw the haymaker there and just a bit outside, just missed it a little bit, but good racing. I mean, that was exciting, and nobody got their shit tore up or whatever, so it was no harm, no foul. But it definitely, and that's where it was a little bit top dominant, right? But
Hmm.
if I
Yeah,
had to choose, I mean, a lot of times racing can be one lane. It just is what it is. But I'll take one lane on top 1,000 out of 1,000 times before you give me one lane on the bottom because it produces stuff like that, slides
right.
out, and things that are exciting.
If everybody's fighting for the bottom, there's no opportunity for the outside pass. But if it's like, yeah, if it's dominant on the high side, you can try the slider at least.
Absolutely. Bert, you got anything else there? That was a good race over at Plymouth. That was actually on Dirt Race Central as well.
Right, right.
So if you don't have a subscription to Dirt Race Central, now keep in mind they're live events. You got to pay per view, right? So you got to pay per event. But you can buy a monthly subscription to Dirt Race Central. I think it's like $15 a month or something. It's pretty reasonable. If you don't have that, you should have it because you can go back watch all the Wasota races and Super Six, and they got a lot of stuff on there. It's worth checking. I want to give them a shout out. They do a good job. Anything else there, Bert? You watched
Um,
LaSalle, didn't you?
yeah, I watched the LaSalle races, and you want to talk about a cushion? That track had a cushion on, especially on Saturday night. And I think Ryan, you made the comment through our texting that Shirley was just like a pinball on that track.
Yeah, he said he's getting his stuff ready. After that weekend, he probably took everything apart. He's probably at the chiropractor, right? I mean, he was bound. He was every which way but straight.
Well,
But
I think he
yeah,
said they're putting a new car together, didn't they? That's
I
why they're not going to the Dream.
yeah, I think a little bit had to do with weather too. I
Yeah.
think if the weather looked good, he probably would have just said, hey, let's go. But the weather looked pretty sketch, so he's focused on that World of Outlaw deal. But yeah, overall, I mean, at LaSalle, they had split features night one. Pearson Turbo won the split features, and then of course BP 32 getting her done and winning. What is it? The Illinois Valley Showdown or whatever they called it. I think over at LaSalle. So Bobby Pierce getting it done.
Well,
Um,
and it's nice that racing's back at LaSalle because I mean that track was closed for a couple of years, wasn't it?
it was, yes. All right, Changa, what in late model action, other than LaSalle and Plymouth, what stuck out to you?
Proctor Speedway. Love that place. It's my pride and joy. I grew up there. That's where I raced a lot of my career. It was an absolute gem of a feature race. Track was really good for their opener. You had the Hermantown Hammer driving by Kevin Burdick for the lead, and they get a late restart, and Kyle Peterlin just buries it in on the top and goes by both of them, takes the lead, and then just parks the thing on the bottom, slows it down, and just runs a line that he wasn't giving anybody a place to go by him. It was an absolute thing of beauty. And, three of my favorite race car drivers in the area getting her done and battling with each other. Just absolutely enjoyed that one.
Well, the mental game in that, right? So Burdick was leading that race, and Nelson threw a haymaker slider, and little close for comfort, but needless to say, Burdick hit the brakes, and they didn't really make a ton of contact, and Burdick threw one back, and Daryl crossed him over, and restart comes out, right? Daryl Nelson's out front. Burdick's in second. Burdick's on the inside, so Daryl's got to be thinking he's throwing a fucking slider. There's no way, there's no doubt, right? So he goes in the corner and he shuts it down. He kind of takes that line to protect from a slider. Peterlin, veteran drivers, kind of saw it coming. He's like, he's going to go down, kind of throw a half-ass block, drove by both of them on the outside. So, pretty good track. I want to give a shout out to Terry Lillo, T-Man doing the track over there. Did a really good job. That was some pretty good racing. What else you got in late models there?
Well, I got a couple. I'll give a shout out. My other hometown track, Gondikla Speedway, Dave Flynn, 2 in a row, right? The same thing there. Dave Flynn wins again. Burdick ran second for a lot of the race, and Daryl Nelson comes from deep to steal second near the end there. I watched Buffalo River, and that was actually a really fun race. That track had some character, and it was fun. I want to give a shout out to Amelia Eisenshank. She was up on the wheel, railing it around the top. She had a chance to win that race. Of course, the old wily veteran Mitch Johnson in his 103rd year of racing got her done, right? But I mean, if she could have just hit her marks, she just pushed a couple too many times, or she could have had a chance to steal that one. But shout out to her, a pair of third place finishes, and one of them in the NLRA race this week at Forks as well. So hell of a weekend for her. Wanted to put her on the hot list too. So
and all is right in the world when one of my childhood favorite drivers, Mitch Johnson, parks in victory lane, second of the year. But them Eisenchain girls, they got, I get it, they got backing, but a lot of people do, but they're pretty sporty. Layla and Amelia, both very good. They're both very good race car drivers. Anything else there, or do you want me to jump in?
no, I'm gonna let you go with it. I mean, the challenge series was relatively boring, so I'll let you touch on that.
Well, there's some things that stuck out, right? So, the two major late model series in Wissota country, of course, the premier one is the Wissota Late Model Challenge Series, and then, of course, the NLRA Late Model Series as well. So, the Challenge Series had their 4-night swing. KRA Speedway on Thursday, in Wilmer, Minnesota, Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo, Minnesota on Friday, Madison, Minnesota on Saturday, and they went to the Casino Speedway, one of our favorite bull rings over there in Watertown, South Dakota on Sunday. Now, we talked about Dave Moss. Incredible weekend, right? He got second the first 2 nights, third the next 2 nights. Hell of a weekend. But a guy that we don't have on the hot list that probably should be. How about Scott Ward? I think he got like 6th or 7th the first night. Or he didn't race KRA. 6th or 7th at Fiesta City. But then he won at Madison, won at Casino. So Scott Ward is a guy that he's like Heckle and Hyde, right? Heckle and is it Heckle and Hyde? Is that what it is? Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde. Is that what it is? Jesus.
Yes.
Donkey award on that one. Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde. There it is. Heckle and Hyde. So yeah, Scott Ward though, I mean, he's either like red hot or ice cold. And he was red hot this weekend. He got a pair of wins. Now, with that said, when he won at Madison, I mean, Sobraski was gone. 4 to go, rubbered up track. Madison is awesome when the track is good. It was not at this one. He blew a right rear tire leading. Probably was going to win that. Sobraski did win at Monty, and but Pravo was good. Pravo was running second in that deal. Spit a drive shaft out. So there's a couple drivers both up towards the front in the points, and so Pravo breaks the drive shaft at Fiesta City. Sobraski wins. Ward wins at Madison after the flat tire from Sobraski. TPO, he shelled an engine at Madison as well, so that wasn't good. Casino Speedway, I think, was the best race. I mean, Ward kind of stunk it up because once he got the lead, he drove away, but there was a really good battle there for second, third, fourth, and 40 laps around that bull ring. I mean, it never locked down, never rubbered up, and they were racing all over the racetrack. KRA Speedway, they had a little bit of rain, but the track had a little character. Cole Searing getting it done there. Him and Kevin Eater had a really good race early. That was a second straight win for Searing. He was a point leader at the time, and he actually in Fiesta City he wasn't feeling well, and essentially ended up going into the doctor. I think it was acute appendicitis, I believe is what it was, which is freaking dangerous. If that if something goes wrong, it pollutes your whole body. You could die from that shit,
Yep.
right? So he goes to the hospital and they're like, no, we gotta. I think they have some kind of surgery. I don't know all the details on that. I didn't want to bug him, but needless to say, sounds like he's out. He's on the mend. So get well soon, Cole Searing. But obviously that ended his reign of trying to double up, go back to back, and challenge series points. He wasn't there Saturday and Sunday. Well, I will give a tip of the cap to Wasota, because they come out and they said, look, Lucas Oil's done it, World of Outlaws have done it. He's the reigning champ. We're going to give basically, I don't remember how they worded it, but an exemption, a points exemption, where they awarded him last place. They all full show points, last place heat points, last place feature points to kind of keep him in. You guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I actually, it's a precedent that was set by some of the other bigger national touring series in the past, and I love it. I mean, because let's be honest, I mean, these races are irrelevant if they come to town and it's nothing but locals, right? I mean, you need to keep some of these big names on the tour, keep them relevant in the series. He's still, I think he's like 46 points back. Well, if Cole Searing, he can make up 46 points throughout the rest of the year. Potentially that's enough to keep him running once he's back and healthy. So I think it's a great deal for late model racing, Wasota, the Challenge Series, everything in general, and just I guess like I said, the precedent was set, so I guess I think it's the right thing.
Yeah, in a series that's kind of struggling, single digit followers of the series. TPO fell off after a rough opening weekend there. Searing's going to look at that and be like, look, they did this so that I can continue on. How does he not support it now, right? So I think it's going to be good. I think it was a great decision. Bert, any argument there, or are you kind of on the same page?
No, I'm on the same page.
Then they have the NLRA, which is a great little regional deal up in the Grand Forks, Fargo, Ada, that Devil's Lake area up there. And Dustin Strand, perennial powerhouse, back-to-back wins up there. TPO +8 to second night 1, TPO +5 to second night 2. Good racing, right? But that's the downfall. I mean, I'm a fan of both of these guys, but that's the downfall to redraw, right? Is you take the two best guys and you got them starting 4 or 5 rows apart. A huge event. I think if you flip the script, right? I think if TPO starts in the front and Strand's, I think they still finish first and second, but I don't think Strand passes them, right? So Dustin Strand is tough to beat up there, but when you put him up front, it's really tough to beat. And TPO was there. He had a shot both nights, but when you look at it, Bert, so the car counts for the Challenge Series 18, 24, 26, 21. For the NLRA 22 and 31. They had 31 cars at Grand Forks. Big car count up there. That bodes well in that region. We talked about areas that have a really good following. That is a big one right there. Disappointed, not with Casino Speedway in general, but with some of the drivers over there. I just in that area, Aberdeen cars and whatnot. I mean, they had 24 cars for a regular night the week before. They had 21 cars for the Challenge Series. It's like 700 to win, 800, 6, 7, 800 to win on a freaking regular Sunday night. They had 24 cars for that. It's 3,000 to win, and they get 21.
Well,
racers are freaking dumb.
Well,
it just is what it is.
For some reason, some locals feel like they just can't compete, or so they don't want to. When the out of town drivers come in, and I'm not saying that in reference to that race so specifically. I've noticed that in eastern Wisconsin too. Some locals will not race when Dirt Kings come to a track, and I just don't understand that.
It makes no sense to me, and I've seen it. I've seen it in different classes as well. Speaking of South Dakota, Brown County, Superman Mike Stearns, his first career win in a Wissota late model as well, holding off, of course, some charges there from old Showtime Kantar Ment, getting second in that one. But Stearns, who's won a ton of races in the mod and in the super stock, I was surprised. I thought he had won a race already in the late model, but that was his first one. Brownstown, of course, they had the 42nd Hoosier Dirt Classic. Josh Rice getting it done over there. They had a really big 40 cars at Brownstown. We'll jump over to Miller, 9 late models. I mean, that track struggles is way out in the middle of nowhere. You kind of got to travel to get out there. Josh Gorcheski, though, he's kind of had a pretty rough start to the season. A lot of bad luck, breaking shit, and just stupid stuff happening. Gorcheski getting it done there. Stearns was second, so a great weekend there for Stearns. Cedar Lake Speedway, 31 late models, regular night at Cedar. Is Cedar Lake late model action back? That is outstanding numbers, right? Because
they got open rules.
They do. They got the kind of Dirt Kings type rules where you can run an open motor. But I don't know this for sure, but I think I would say the large majority were always sort of legal anyway. But they do open it up. But
I'll look to that one.
Did you? You didn't get a chance to watch that.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I was impressed with when I saw the results at the guy who won.
Yeah, one night. It's the only night he's raced so far this year. You see who won there, Bert?
No.
Adam Hansel.
Oh, I had heard that he was going to be back in a late model. Yeah.
Team KME. He's got a KME car.
Okay.
Sounds like, yeah, he had a good race up the front there with Panitsky, Ashley Anderson third, Daryl Nelson fourth, Sam Mars fifth. But Sam Mars, I figured maybe would follow the Challenge Series. He did not. But yeah, Hansel back in action. It's been a number. It's been he ran mod now for the last few years, but it's been a while since he was in a late model. Always good to see Hansy back in victory lane for sure.
I have a question about a future Cedar Lake event. Now the Mater is going to be at Cedar Lake this year.
It is.
Is that Wissota or Cedar Lake rules?
Cedar Lake rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cedar Lake rules. I believe it's July 19th, and Ogilvy has a $5,000 to win Challenge Series show the same night. The same, right?
Okay, exactly. Okay. Yeah, we talked about that.
We did. So let's do a little. Guess the former Wissota late model national champion.
Oh shoot! I forgot to study this.
All right. We're going to do a late model one here. And Bert, I think what we're going to do moving forward, you guys have the list. I'll let you guys, the loser should research a driver in any class, and they should be given the clues the next week. So It's not always me. And anybody can go on and do a little research to pick a driver and come up with some questions, right?
So, I didn't do any research either, so.
All right, good. So this driver right here, favorite track, the baddest bull ring in the South. Bulls Gap, his favorite track. This driver went to college at WITC. This driver started racing in 2001.
Really?
Yep. Started racing in 2001. It's got to be one of the young guns, right? The smooth operator, Bobby Pierce, getting it done. All right.
Davenport and Thornton.
He did, yes. Davenport in a backup car.
A 5th and a 6th for me.
I am not. Oh, no, I do. I did get a guy in the top 10. I had Bronson. He got 8th, so that helps. All right.
WITC, first year 2001.
2005 was sort of late model national rookie of the year, meaning that he started racing in 2001. It was only a couple years into his racing career.
I mean,
that he got into-
there's several
do we
WITC.
just yell out names?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Zach Johnson.
No. Nope. This driver has raced. I know he raced a super. I don't think he raced up here. I think he might have started a super. And it was a brunette car. He had a brunette car.
Adam Hensel.
Hansi. There it is.
there it is.
I figured you were going to get it earlier after I went Hansi last on the. So yeah, he third at the 2006 Silver 1000. 2006. 2006 was sort of late model national champion. Yeah, next clue was going to be he ran a dirt dueler and a MB mod. He's been racing mods for a while and won a feature this year. I was going to say this past week at Cedar, his first race of the year, new KME team driver. His last win, 2023, had a pair of wins in a modified. Didn't win anything last year. So yeah, you're Bert on the board there. Your former Wasota late model national champ, Hansi Adam Hensel.
No Hensi ever won a natty.
Yep, Hensi won an Addy. He was a bad man that year. And literally, he was only like fourth, fifth year into the class. And yeah, he just went on a tear.
I actually know he won a national title because I believe Demo finished second. It was him and Demo battling till the end.
Okay. So let's jump into some modified stuff here. A little recap on the. So Bert,
Hey Ryan, Pierce blew that fucking spoiler deal right off the car tonight. Just so you know, I mean that thing is folded under, but it didn't fly off the car. It just folded under.
Yeah, it folded, but the deck bar could have folded the same way. But yes.
Yeah, that thing's beautiful.
But it didn't fly off the race car. That is for sure.
That's the key.
Yep. So modifieds. Bert, you got anything in the modified recap that we talked about Mississippi Thunder already?
Yeah, and I talked about Benji and stuff. So yeah, you can move on.
All right, Changa, what do you got for modifieds? What stuck out to you this past weekend in the world of modified racing?
The Hermantown Hammer, baby. He's back and he is on a mission, right? You know, he he gave the boys a little lesson at Gondik Law. He, Belfi schooled him a little bit in the heat race, but he made some adjustments, come back, won the feature, and then he's closing in little by little, I believe, on Craig Thatcher for that record at Cedar Lake that all his fans, sponsors, and family are so interested in him catching, and probably the reason that he keeps digging, right? So
yeah, back-to-back wins for the Hammer, Gondik Law Speedway and the Cedar Lake Speedway.
And then a second on Sunday at Proctor to our boy Brandon Kopp. So a great weekend for the Hammer. Kent Arment gets one done again at Brown County. That was good. Zach Benson from 7th at Granite. I did watch Thunder City. It was a photo finish between Jeff Davis and Riley Matthews. So one of them rare nights that we didn't get a Chernovsky win, and ABC Tyler Vernon getting her done again. That guy just keeps winning and running up front.
Yeah, I don't think he's been his first mod win of the year. He's got a few there in the Midwest mod. He's barely ever out of the top 5. Tyler Vernon has been really, really good. Car cones were good too. 20 modifieds up in Ashland, 23 over at the Gondik Law Speedway in Superior. So that is pretty good. So who did you talk about? Who you said? What did you say? Jeff Davis in the Midwest in Thunder Bay?
Jeff Davis and a photo finish over Riley Matthews, and I left a couple for you. I left you Hibbing because that's your stomping grounds, right?
You did. Well, I'll start with Grand Rapids first. On Thursday, you got Bob Broking, light car cone, only 9 up there. I think they'll have a couple more this week. Pretty good race early. Blake Adams kind of had a little something for him out of the gate, but Bob Broking in that brand new CDR car looked really, really good in Rapids. Kind of put it on the boys. Unfortunately, he went to Hibbing, and he's going to have to go back probably to Louisiana to get a new one because he got in the fence hard. I look like they had some tires.
Like a tire, wasn't it?
Tires at the end of the straightaway wall.
Really weird.
Yeah, and he just got up into it, and that thing, he hit freaking hard. So unfortunately, brand new CDR car is not brand new anymore. Tyler Kittner, though, was really good. He was absolutely dominant up in Hibbing. And of course, when you think Hibbing Raceway, the Kittner name is one of those names up there. When you think Hibbing Raceway, there's been a lot of Kittners that have won a lot of races at Hibbing, and Tyler continues to do so. Another guy we talked about, Bert, over the past few weeks that has been really, really strong in central Minnesota, Travis Schulte in the 3T, putting him on him over in Princeton. And then Matt DePirio getting it done up in Emo. Now, fourth place driver, do you remember a late model guy that used to come down from Canada, number 14, that ran Hibbing and Proctor? Remember Greg Ferris?
I know the name, but I don't remember him much.
Yeah, Blake Ferris. I'm assuming that's a kid. I'm not 100% sure. I saw he got fourth. I was pretty interested to see that. We'll jump over to the Viking Speedway. Dusty Bitson getting it done over there. Brendan Blasick led early, then the caution come out, and then Bitson was just too tough. Greenbush, Joe Thomas. There's a driver that we've talked about quite a bit. This might have been his first of the year getting it done up there. Mike Stearns with a great weekend. He got a late model win over there at Brown County, got a mod win at Miller. Ogilvy, a guy that I picked the week before at the Mod Nationals, should give him a fucking donkey award. That's what I should do. That's what I should do. So I take Landon Atkinson at freaking Ogilvy for the Mod Nationals. I'm like, freaking kid's a badass, right? He's definitely gonna win at least one. No, he figures out that I picked him, waits a freaking week, and then he wins. It's kind of bullshit. Okay, I call bullshit on that one. So Atkinson, I picked you this week. You better get your shit together and get me a win over at Fergus. That's what you need to do this week. All right, get her done. Bemidji, Tanner Williamson, five modifieds, five. Tanner Williamson did get second. It looked like I think he got second. Where did Tanner Williamson get second? He got second at Emo's opener. But then he got the win down at Bemidji. Jeff Reed, former Superstock driver, he got second in that one over at the home of the Chicken Shack. Changa, you raised your hand there.
Oh, I was just saying, Tanner Williamson having a good start to his season. He's like 7 for 7 on top 5 finishes and got first win of the season there Sunday. So great start to the season for him.
Absolutely. He's a good race car driver. He's fun to watch. He's one of the better ones that comes down from Canada for sure. You mentioned Granite, Zach Benson getting it done. He was, one of the Wissota drivers that went down to Mississippi Thunder. So hat tip for looking at, an opportunity to go race for some money, going to do that, racing with the big boys down there, coming back to Granite, parking it in Victory Lane. You think that maybe helped him, run down there and, racing with that caliber of drivers. You come back to your home track with Wissota, and all of a sudden it's like, it's almost easier, right? I mean, so good job to Zach Benson. And then did you mention who won at Proctor? I know you mentioned our boy Daryl got second.
Brandon Cobb.
Brando getting it done. So pretty good modified racing.
He definitely needed it.
He did. He another up and down guy. He's a grassroots guy. He works hard. They do a lot of shit themselves in the shop. So we really like seeing when Brandon Cobb gets her done. Super stocks, as the announcer at the Grand Rapids Speedway would say. Bert, I know you didn't watch any super stock action, so we're gonna.
No, I didn't. And actually, the reason I left for a little bit is I switched over to high limit at Red Cedar.
Okay.
Looks like the feature's rolling out, and they must have had the track wet because they had to wipe the wall off in areas.
Oh, really?
You don't see that too often.
You do not. I am going to look to see if I can find the high limit on my back screen here. Here it is. We'll put the high limits on here. All right, so Changa, what stuck out to you in Superstock action this past week?
Our defending national champion, right? He finally getting back on track with a pair of wins this weekend.
Yeah, congratulations, Dexton, remembering where Victory Lane is. We're starting to think that maybe he was going to get second or third for the rest of his life, but I think they sacrificed the live chicken on their car. I'm not really sure what happened because they had some bad juju going on. So I think, not sure what happened. Maybe an exorcism, not really positive. I did tell him to put pink fingernail polish on his left pinky nail, to try to reverse the curse. And yeah, pair of wins for him. Good job, Dexton.
Of course, the 7-8 with a couple of huge 5 and 7 car wins this weekend, right? You know, that was incredible. Your normal weekly Cole Chernoski never loses at Thunder City, right?
3 for 3 to start the season, 4th of the year. He's got one down in the States too.
Brown County, Stuart Shipke. You know, and here's a good one that I thought.
Did you watch that? Did you watch that race at Brown County?
I saw some highlights, but I'll be honest, I was distracted. I had people in line at work, so I didn't really grasp what was going on there.
Trevor Nelson was like 3 laps ahead. He was gone.
Yep, I did.
And he broke with 2 to go.
Oh.
So I don't know if it was an engine or what, but he rolled it off of turn 1. And Shipke said in Victory Lane, hey, I just capitalized on his misfortune, right? Because it was definitely Trevor Nelson's race to lose, and he got the bad luck there. And yeah, congrats, Stuart Shipke.
Gondik Lot, Alex Myers, right? Now he's had a couple of wins here lately and been a little bit sporty and you know, even beating up on Dad here and there. So that was exciting to see. Proctor Steve Stewart holds off Kurt Myers to win there.
Well, I'm gonna pause you for a minute there because I had a couple messages. Okay, I got a couple messages. So Alex Myers, by the way, also won at Rice Lake. So we had a pair of them on the week. So he won. So Alex Myers with a really good weekend. Gondik Law. I want to give a shout out here to is it Alex Blom? Is that what it is? Number 3?
No.
What's his name?
It's not Alex.
Austin Blom.
Yep.
Yeah. He's been in the top 5 every single night. That kid's been really, really making some strides. I think he's going to find Victory Lane. But I had a message. I looked on the camera on Dirt Race Central, and they didn't really catch what happened. And there's a nomination for a donkey award here. Okay. So sources tell me that there might have been a little dirty pool going on here at the Proctor Speedway. So Steve Stewart got it done. But Alex Myers kind of having a rough go of it at Proctor. Kurt Myers running second, not really exactly in striking distance. And Alex Myers literally pulls kind of partially off the track and stops on the back straightaway, brings out a yellow. Now, my sources, I didn't see it because they didn't show it on the camera, so I don't know for sure. We're just kind of taking their word at it. But they're telling me that he kind of noticed that maybe Dad needed a little see if he could maybe get a little run at Steve Stewart here, brought out the yellow to try to get an assist. Now, I do remember in Menominee, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where good old Dad threw a haymaker block and dirtied up Terrence Spacek so his kid could win. So, I don't know. I don't know. You got this family dynamic here, teamwork, blocking, bringing out yellows for the other person. Could this be a thing? What do you think? Do you think that happened? I don't know. That's what my sources are telling me. Justin Tech is absolutely roasting the left rear tire.
Yeah. Oh, he's broken. He blew up.
That is right off the start, got the lead and broke. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think Alex Myers was trying to help old Dad out there at Proctor?
I hope so. I mean, that's your job. We're teammates, right?
Oh man, I tell you what, if he would have taken the win on that one, that might have been holy hell. But yeah, it's interesting. Teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, Bert, you ever seen anything like that over in eastern Wisconsin? Families racing, blocking for each other, doing shit like that. I mean, you ever see anything like that?
Nothing that comes to mind.
I have to keep an eye on that, see if that happens a little bit more. That's interesting. I'm like, okay, I looked, I tried to see it, and I'm like, I couldn't really pinpoint if that happened for sure or not. But Changa, what else you got? Anything else?
Dalton Carlson, you know, continuing a string of strong runs, winning up in Bemidji.
That might have been. So let's just face it.
That was a good race.
It was. Bemidji's not known for being the most racy track in racing. It's just not. It's known for chicken, right? But holy shit, that was a candidate for finish of the week. There was another one in the supers as well, but boy, what a good finish between him and Brandon Barr, 29. Now, Brandon Barr, of course, grandson to Gordy Lancaster, one of the most legendary Hall of Famers up there in Bemidji. But that was a good race. That's worth checking out on Dirt Race Central, the last couple laps of the Superstock race over at Bemidji. Congrats, Dalton Carlson.
So one more here. I got to give a shout out to our boy Tristan Labarge, bringing her home checker up in Hibbing, right? Junked the car down in Granite a couple weeks back, repaired it all himself, probably restubbed it. No help.
Himself.
Yeah, no help, all by himself. And he probably made that known in victory lane a little bit, right? But hats off to him. You know, throw that thing back together and bring her home checker up in your home track. That's a hell of a job for him.
He was pretty vocal about his chassis builder, that's for sure. But I know that he has a jig and he's a good fabricator, and hard work pays off. So it's super cool seeing the 19 park it in victory lane. Grand Rapids Speedway, probably one of the better finishes, probably might have been the best finish of the week. Cameron LaBelle, Western Minnesota racer. He got the lead late. Kevin Saline led early in that one. LaBelle got by him, and here comes rookie Justin Barsness, tracks him down. Last lap, they take the white flag. They go into 1 and 2, and he dove to the inside of LaBelle. LaBelle jumped the cushion a little bit in 2, bobbled just enough, and bam, there goes Barsness by. Barsness roasted into the high side, and LaBelle threw a slider, and it was definitely a good finish. Photo finish at the line, literally inches. And Chasten Finkbone, another rookie, came from deep in that one to round out the podium with a third. So good. Yeah, good super stock race there. Sobraski, he had the trifecta on the week. They had more cars at KRA, but he literally just absolutely curb stomped everybody. He had win number 6, 7, and 8 of the year in the super stock. He won at Wilmer, he won at Fiesta City, and he won at Madison in the super stock. Sobraski is tough to beat in the super stocks. I'm telling you, he is. I don't care if there's 5 cars or 50 cars. 7A is going to find a way to get to the front. It's just what he does. Gallatin Speedway out in Belgrade, Montana. Bo Brown finding victory lane in the 00 out there. Congratulations to him. I actually picked him. We picked in our pick'ems. We had 2 picks. First, we give 2 points for the winner, 1 point for the highest finishing. I was the only guy to pick. I think me and Dan Filto maybe were the only 2 to take Bo Brown. He got second there, so I got some points out of old Bo. Because the Electric City Speedway, they had a super stock special. Casey Stephenson is dang near unbeatable. He is really fast. I would love to see Sobraski go out there and race him. Now, it's Sobraski. He probably win. It just is what it is. It's what he does. But Casey Stephenson's a good race car driver. You don't hear about him much because he mainly races Electric City. Maybe every now and then he'll hit another Montana track. Doesn't really come over this way. But I don't know how many wins he has over there, but it's double digit every year. So Casey Stephenson, third of the year, he's got 3 wins, 1 second, 1 DNF at Electric City. He's dang near unbeatable there. ABC Raceway. I want to give a shout out to this guy, Don Livingston, number 2 car. So Sheldon Motor here, I don't know if it was at Superior or what, but he had to miss the opening night at the ABC Raceway, which is a home track. You don't want to miss your opening night. It's kind of a bummer, right? Rebuilt an engine himself, right? Not bringing it to an engine builder, old school. Let's take it apart, put it back together, built the engine in his garage, and heads over to the ABC Raceway, his home track, night number 2 of the year. First career super stock win, Don Livingston. That's the tip of the cap. Congratulations to him. It's always fun when somebody has some adversity. They work hard. Tristan Labarge, same thing, fresh off a rollover. 2 guys right there that are hands-on, not buying their speed, going out there, making it happen, finding victory lane. Cedar Lake Speedway, we got Kyle Kopp. Kyle Kopp, he gets a handful of wins every single year. That Kopp family as a whole. Of course, his dad, John Kopp, was a good racer. Don Kopp is a Hall of Famer. Brandon Kopp, but congratulations to him. Trevor Sauer might have been his first of the year over at the high-flying half-mile Viking Speedway. 29 star, can't get his shit to run. Didn't even start the feature because he's got some kind of motor issues. Miller Central Speedway with 13 cars. Guys, I found that. Oh, they did it was a special, 1,000 to win. I was wondering, I'm like, why did they have 13? Because usually they have 7. I'm not sure what happened there. Well, Trevor Nelson, fresh off of his should have won at Aberdeen DNF, parked it in victory lane there. North Central Speedway, we're going to give the win to Dylan Nelson. Dylan Nelson's a guy that probably is going to hit double digits in the super stocks. You mentioned Joey already. He's been piling up wins. He got it done at Ogilvy. So this week, though, I want to let's start with this. We'll take a little pause, give a shout out to Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating up in Ashland, Wisconsin. They're the biggest sponsor of the #1 series in all of WISSOTA racing. That is the Fastlane Motorsports Super Stock Series, right? And this week they're starting out. They got Thursday at Rice Lake, Friday the Dave Shackleton Memorial at the Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee. So Fastlane Motorsports, they do sandblasting, powder coating, custom fabricating. They build the Galloper chassis. They sell parts, anything racing related, they can get it. Great group of people up there in Ashland. Chris and everybody at Fastlane. Just first class. So if you need race parts or whatever, check them out. Give them a call. They're going to take good care of you. And I'm pretty excited this weekend. Super Stock Series getting underway in its 11th year. That is going to be on Dirt Race Central both nights. Thursday at Rice Lake, Friday the Dave Shackleton Memorial. He was a really good big Mopar guy back in the day. He passed away a few years back. Really, really good race car driver down there in Wisconsin. Memorial race for him on Friday. So let's jump into the Midwest Modifieds. Bert, you got anything on the sport mod side of things, or?
I know I kind of touched on mine earlier.
Okay, Changa. A lot of Midwest mod stuff here. We'll rattle through them quickly, but specifically anything major stick out to you? There was a couple things that were pretty cool that happened here in the Midwest Modified ranks.
I don't know what major, but you're a defending national champion, getting her done up in Thunder City.
First win of the year.
First win of the year, started 8th, so he had to do a little bit of work, and he drove up to second, and it was predominantly one groove on the bottom, and he rolled through the middle to take the lead. And once he got to the lead, he was just gone, right? Casino Speedway, Onyx Johnson, he broke the seal last week, and now he's kind of, I think he's like a 14 or 15-year-old kid, but he's starting to look sporty. He had a second and a first again this weekend. Joey Jensen, I believe, did the trifecta this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He won Friday at Gondik, Sunday at Proctor, and I believe he won, I'm not sure, but I believe he won Saturday at Ogilvy, did he not?
He won at Gondik. He won at
Proctor.
Yeah, he did win at Ogilvy. Yeah.
I believe Joey Jensen with the trifecta.
4 in a row. That's 4 in a row for Joey. Number 8 on the year in the WISSOTA Midwest Modified.
And then I just wanted to give a shout out, ABC Raceway, James Vandella, right? Been battling hard, running, in the top 5 here and there, and finally was able to break the seal and get a win at ABC. So, congrats to him.
Yeah, Vandella, he's a Superior guy, right? Vandella?
Yeah, he has. Well, one other thing I wanted to say, which I found a little bit Justin Jones getting her done in Hibbing, right? And then Justin Jones, I believe he got second in Proctor on Sunday, running in Proctor on Sunday when he's from Bemidji, and Bemidji runs on Sunday.
Yeah, I found that interesting as well. I mean, maybe he traveled quite a bit back in the day. That kid's won a lot of races, especially in the Midwest Mod division. So very cool seeing him. Now, Washek, they got Tri-County Speedway and Washek, 4 Midwest Mods. They struggle with car count there. Brandon Waite getting it done there. I think he's a former WISSOTA 100 winner a couple years back. Grand Rapids Speedway on Thursday. The Blevins family, they just stack wins, right? I mean, that's a big racing family right now. Current racing family. If you're into that, that's a thing. Builds his own cars. Michael Blevins Sr. getting it done in Rapids. Skylar Smith, who took a little time off from Midwest Mods, dabbled in Mod 4s, was in a A-Mod for a little bit. Now he's back in a Midwest Mod. He got second over there. Good to see him back. Hopefully we see him every week at Grand Rapids. Another guy that last weekend doubled up, this weekend he got another win, Matt Scow over at Norman County Raceway in Ada on Thursday, his 3rd of the season. Big Sky Speedway, his first of 2025, This guy had 15 combined wins between the mod and IMCA mod and Wissota B mod in 2024. Number 369, Bart Taylor. This is a guy right here. When Sheridan has that 10 grand to win show coming up here in just a few weeks, he's a guy to keep an eye on. He is one. I mean, if there's a guy out there that can run with and beat the Likers, Bart Taylor is a good race car driver. I've seen some of what he can do. Black Hill Speedway, we mentioned Liker. Stacking wins. What has he got? 7 straight. So Troy Liker won at Black Hills and he won at Gillette. So 7th of the season, 6 straight wins for Troy Liker. Brown County, Todd Stark, Lucas Rodin with a bad luck. There's another one that if you don't win, he breaks. Lucas Rodin was leading, restart coming out of turn 4, car shut off. Not sure what happened. Died, stacked up the whole field. And Todd Stark there to take advantage, parked it in victory lane. North of the border there, Emo, Ontario, Garrett Paul, second generation driver. I raced against Gavin Paul, which was his dad in the modified division. Guys, Red Cedar Speedway had a 2,000 to win Midwest mod special on Friday. How many cars do you think they had?
20.
17. 17. And there's guys that are from the area that are traveling, right? You know, there's guys that live half hour, 45 minutes away. Yeah, they're going to Princeton, or you know, Joey's a lot closer to there. He's up in Superior, and I get it. He likes Superior, but boy, 2,000 to win. I'm disappointed in that. You know, they put the money on the line for that special. Well, you sure think they'd get 25 cars in a Midwest mod deal, but I don't really understand why they struggle over there to get car count for their specials when a lot of times they have over 20 on a regular night. Fiesta City Speedway, 6 straight podiums for this driver between the mod and the Midwest mod. He flat out performance turbine of Ryan Flotten. You mentioned Onyx Johnson got second. Flotten's been pretty good. He's been very good over in Western Minnesota. Eric Grolke, his first Wissota win. He's got multiple sport mod wins in IMCA. Yeah, I see we got a fuel stop there.
Yeah, we got a fuel stop in the sprint.
Yeah, we got a fuel stop.
Just wanted to touch on.
The sprint car guys, they got to run 30 laps. They need a timeout. Electric City Speedway, Tyler Leach. Now, Leach, the name, right? So, I think it's Paul Leach, maybe, is Lowenbro. They own Longhorn. So, that is Michael Leach's, I think, the little brother. He put it to him over there in Electric City. He's got 2 IMCA mod wins. You mentioned Justin Jones. He got it done from 7th, by the way. That was the best race of the night in Hibbing. Madison, a guy that I ran a lot of laps against in the Superstock down at KRA. Jason Vetraba getting it done. Jeremy Meerhofer getting it done. Bart Taylor second at Big Sky on night number 2. Hard rollover. Did you see the rollover at Cedar Lake in the Midwest Mod Division?
I did not.
Jake Smith tumbled hard.
Oh, yes, I saw that one.
Yeah, he took a nasty lick. Sounds like he's okay, which is good. But second generation guy, tough break for him. But Scott Splistoser, one of the nicer guys in dirt track racing, getting it done. Everybody I know they speak pretty highly of him. One of the old guys over at the Viking Speedway, Ron Sauer, getting it done, taking advantage. Haley Dykoff. I'll be honest. Guys over there at Viking Speedway, the fastest Midwest mod over at Viking Speedway is a girl, and it is Haley Dykoff, and she broke leading. So tough break for her, but Ron Sauer getting it done. Nick Kaler getting it done at the old Rice Paddy. Logan Salazar at Devil's Lake. Aaron Blacklands getting it done at Greenbush. Jaron Whipstead at Jamestown. Miller Central Speedway, second of the week. I had to give a shout out to guys that back-to-back wins on the weekend. Todd Stark. I ran mods against him back when I was in the mods out there. Gondik Law Speedway, though, I crossed that one off. Did you watch a feature at Gondik Law Speedway?
Well, I had it on, but I was doing housework, so I didn't even comprehend what happened there. I just know Joey won and David Simpson got second.
Dude, the same deal that happened in Plymouth with the slider that was close, right? It got spicy with 2 to go at the Gondik Law Speedway. Tyler Vernon, who has been absolutely rocket fast, tracked down Joey Jensen in his 41V. And I think it was coming for the white or coming for 2 to go. He threw a haymaker slider on him in 3 and 4. And he literally come right across Joey's nose, and contact was made, and he pancaked the fence coming off a 4, and he kept it going. He didn't
That's
park
2
it. He
weeks in
didn't
a row.
sprint.
It was similar to that.
Yeah, he didn't do a LeBron James and try to park it in front of the whole field, and he kept going. He kept going, and he ended up, as a result, falling back to 5th on the deal. But I mean, we're talking, if he clears by a foot more, he wins that race. He was faster than Joey. If he clears by a foot less, you got two junk race cars. It was pretty exciting. But Joey said in victory lane, we'll be buddies tomorrow. It is what it, because I think they're pretty good friends. I think they get along pretty good. But that was actually pretty exciting finish over there at the Gondik Speedway. And then Ryan Putnam, a kid that has been really getting pretty stellar over the last couple of years, getting it done at Granite. And speaking of the Blevins clans,
Yes.
Mikey Blevins getting it done
I'm never going to forget that.
The home of the Chicken Shack over there in Bemidji. So, street stock action. You got anything in stock cars, Bert?
Well, actually, I have IMCA street stocks. Trey Van Straten, who's the son of Travis Van Straten,
Okay.
won the street stock feature at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour. Stock cars, the Wiley veteran Hot Rod Schnellenberger won the feature at Outagamie Speedway. So
pretty good races. Or did you watch them? Or?
I did not watch them, but Hot Rod is. He probably, if he doesn't have the most IMCA stock car wins in the state of Wisconsin, he's in the top 3, I would say.
Okay. So at Mississippi Thunder, they raced for 10,025 USRA stock cars down there. Jacob Lease was the class of the field. Johnny Carter went down there. He tipped it over night number in one of the prelim nights, and Timmy Johnson, super stock guy, he got 9th down there. But Caden Woody, another Wissota guy, runs some Wissota stuff. He finished in the top 5. But Jacob Lease was the class of the field. He junked a race car on the mods. So he said he needed the money to help pay for his new modified. So that was a rough weekend for him in the modified. Of course it was, because I had him in my draft. All right. What do you have in the street stock division there, Tom? Got anything major that stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, like you touched on it, Jacob Blees winning both, and Jim Chisholm got 2nd in both of them, and of course I picked them both in our pick'ems. So
you did.
A shout out to Jim a little bit, since I suck at drafts. I at least gotta give myself a shout out on my picks a little bit, right? Colton Brower doing Colton Brower things, right? Wins at Thunder City from 5th. Trey Hess got the lead. Trey Hess started 6th, got the lead before him. He chased him down, passed him, and checked out like he said, like he does up there. You won again at Fiesta City. You won again at Madison.
Wilmer. He had 4 wins on the week.
But then old Keith Tourville kind of ended his streak there as Colton Brower got 2nd to Keith Tourville out in Redwood. And boy, has Tourville been good at Redwood. He's been the car to beat out there.
Did you watch the Wilmer street stock race?
I didn't, no.
Photo finish. So Brower was tight. He was really shoving the nose in the middle of the corner. And Justin Vogel tracked him down, diamond it coming off 4, and they were side by side. Photo finish in that one at the KRA Speedway. Really good street stock race over there in Wilmer, Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If Justin Vogel can get up to speed, that's going to make the street stock thing a whole lot better, right?
For sure.
Greg Josie up in Buffalo River.
Not Greg Jose.
Yeah, not Jose. It's Josie, right? Cole Gressa 2nd, Casey Usatis 3rd, 5 cars, but you got 3 good ones putting on a show for the win. Trey Hess won from 5th at Casino. Andy Rosso from 8th got 2nd. Jimmy Gullickson again at Granite. Tommy Pagonis at Princeton. And that's about all I got. I'll leave a few for you.
Yeah, you talked about Pagonis there. That's win number. He's 3 for 3 at Princeton. Little Pogo is. So he's been tough to beat over there. Big Sky Speedway. Jeremy Castro. I know what happened. He's not going to run a late model. I probably know what happened. It's a freaking expensive race car, right? So That's why I wasn't in one, but kind of cool stuff over at Big Sky. So Jeremy Castro back in the street stock. He was a powerhouse here a couple years back. He got it done over there one of the nights, but then the other night, it was the Wissota Street Stock shootout. If Robert Petroff is leading with 2 to go, it's over. Right? No, not so much. Dylan Stephenson, first career win, drove by Petroff with 2 to go to win at Big Sky. That it don't happen very often for anybody to drive by Petroff at Big Sky. That don't happen. But for somebody to get their first career win on a street stock special to drive by him for the win, that's a hat tip. Dylan Stephenson, job well done. Petroff, don't let that happen again. Don't let that. You got to win 30. If you're trying to win the national points, you got to win 30. Just can't let that happen. Petroff's in the top 3 every night. He's a good driver. We're gonna jump over Black Hills. Willie Ferguson. He's top 2 every single night out in Rapid City, South Dakota. Brown County Speedway had a good street stock race as well. So Trey Hess led the lion's share of that race. And there was a lot of restarts, and there was track was pretty sporty. Good, little traction low, little traction high, and Hess was kind of doing the protect mode deal, and he was rolling in the middle, and Jaden Bowe kept getting some good runs on the outside. Finally got by him on his birthday to score the win in Aberdeen. So they've had Emo street stocks up in Emo, Ontario, Canada for a number of years. They sanctioned Wissota street stocks this year. A guy that got the win up there, AJ Keller. Now keep an eye on him. He's been traveling a lot. He was kind of all over the map, racing multiple nights. See Rico Abreu got by old Young Money there. I kind of like to see that.
As that's happening, Tanner Williamson held off Chernowski to win up at Thunder City.
Nice. So AJ Keller, officially the first ever Wissota Street Stock winner at the Emo Speedway, Emo, Ontario. Gondik Speedway had street stocks as well. They're going to run them a few times up there in Superior, Wisconsin. From 7th, his 3rd of the year, his first win in the state of Wisconsin, teenager Levi Rant getting it done over there. We talked about Petroff not getting it done at Big Sky. Well, he did get it done at his home opener at Gallatin. Robert Petroff parking in Victory Lane. Kyle Dykoff getting it done at Viking Speedway. He's got to be one of the favorites this week at Fergus for the King of Dirt. Cody Simple, remember a couple weeks back, Simple had the lead, and I think he had the lead and clipped the tire, right? Didn't do that this week. He found Victory Lane at the old rice paddy. Trey Hess, who's been really charging hard, he is absolutely a national championship contender. Trey Hess got it done at Casino, but he also got it done up at the Devil's Playground, Devil's Lake. Trey Hess, now keep in mind, it's what, April 4th?
No, it's June.
Podiums.
It's June 4th.
June. Yeah, it's not April. Yeah.
You're a couple months behind.
Right. 18 podiums. 18 podiums for Trey Hess already. That's stellar. 6 wins, second on the week. So he's the guy that's going to be in the hunt in the top 3. They're looking at national championship aspirations. Jeremy Gust up in Greenbush. Cole Reseth, his 7th of the year. Quietly keeping himself in championship contention with a win at Jamestown. Brock Stout getting it done over in Miller. He had a rough year last year, maybe the last couple of years. Couple years back, he was dang near unbeatable. Wes Howland getting it done over at the North Central Speedway. 15-year-old, second year of racing, first career feature win over at Ogilvy, Braden Fleck. Congratulations, Jim Gullickson got second in that one, first time winner. You talked about Tourville, and another guy you talked about over in the western part, North Dakota, that last week you're like, God, this guy seems like he's in the top 3 every single night over there. Jody Michelson getting it done at Tri-County. So congratulations to him. So street stocks this week. Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour Friday and Saturday over at the I-94 Speedway Fergus Falls. Friday, of course, the prelude to the Dick Johannick Memorial and the King of Dirt on Saturday. So that should be good racing over there in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. You guys got anything on the grassroots? I got a few things that I got here.
I have one. Shawano Speedway had a special for their 4-cylinder class last week, and 500 to win, but then some fans and other people threw in some extra money, and it was close to $700 to win for the 4-cylinder division. Plus, there's a hard charger award and stuff. But anyway, it was won by Tanner Thorson, Tanner Westfall.
Tanner Thorson was in one of them? No shit.
It was won by Tanner Westfall. He's a multi-time track champion at Shawano Speedway, but he's not racing this year, doesn't have a car. During the week, he posted on Facebook, it'd be nice if if anybody has something to the fact, if anybody has a car to race, I'll race it. And Lucas Hacker, who is also a former track champion at Shawano Speedway, he had foot surgery a few weeks ago, so he can't race. And so he let Tanner race his car, and he won the heat and the feature.
Nice. Congrats, job well done. So Hornet action. So Chonga, do you got anything you want to show on the Hornets? I got a couple things.
I got some grassroots stuff if that's where we're going next.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we're down to the last lap, Rico and Kyle Larson side by side here, so I'm a little distracted. Right?
I see that. Oh, he's pinned behind a lapper. Good run by Rico. Going to clear the 74. That's the winning move. Into 3 and off of 4. Rico Abreu getting it done at the Red Cedar Speedway.
No, not Red Cedar. Oh, that is Red Cedar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Red Cedar.
Boy, that thing's race is entirely different with a sprint car. You wouldn't even know it's Red Cedar.
Correct.
So Thunder Bay, the Hornets up there. Jesse Owen goes 3 for 3 up there for the year. I mean, and gentleman, I don't even know his first name. It escapes me, but a gentleman by the name of Alexiak. He had the lead until a last lap yellow. And on the restart, Owen gave him the old bump and run and stole the win to go 3 for 3.
Hey, congratulations, Red Cedar Speedway. They just showed a view of the crowd up there. It looks like a packed house up there. So it's good to see. They kind of struggled for a couple
of really good racetrack too. That place was
the track was good. Good finish there, side by side. Congrats to Red Cedar Speedway on a good show up there with the high limits.
And I guess, are we just going Hornets or are we just going all over kind of?
Well, let's start with Hornets. Your boy won over.
Yeah. So Proctor Speedway, want to give a shout out to Carson Gutler, one of my boys. Grew up with my kids, coached him in a couple sports. Proud of him for getting her done there. Go ahead if you want to throw out some Hornets.
Yeah, so we'll go Grand Rapids Speedway. Tristan McLean, who had a pile of wins last year, started 6th, got his first of the year up at Grand Rapids. And then we're going to go to Hibbing for their opener. McKenna Folstad from 9th, getting by Gangle with just a handful of laps to go. 18 Hornets up there. Out of all the tracks that had Hornets, Hibbing by far the most Hornets. So that is really good to see. The grassroots class is strong up at the Hibbing Speedway. Viking Speedway, and I'll be completely honest with you, the racing was not spectacular in most of the classes, but the Hornet feature was by far the best. I think it was 3 wide basically at the end of that one. Craig Anderson getting it done. Same thing with Ogilvy. That was, I think, Ogilvy. I don't have Ogilvy written down here, so it must not have been Ogilvy. I must be lying. Definite. Oh no, it was Ogilvy. Yeah, Ogilvy and Viking, the 2 best races easily were the Hornets. Ogilvy, Bobby Arns getting it done. So Arns won at Princeton and at Ogilvy, win number 6, 5, and 6 on the year for him. And at Ogilvy, that was easily the best race. It was side by side with a driver, Tony. Yeah, the 23T. I don't know his name written down. Yeah, Tony Jensen. Tony Jensen. My bad. I knew that. Tony Jensen getting it done. His 8th win of the year. 12 top 2 finishes. They only take top 20 for national points. There's another driver that won a Bemidji, but Provenzino told me don't give this kid a shout out. He doesn't want him to get a big head. So probably just gonna not. No, I'm just kidding. So Brady Faso back-to-back wins. So I was gonna give him a shout out last week, forgot because I didn't write down the Sunday shit. That's my bad. But Brady Faso back-to-back wins at the home of the Chicken Shack. Now, what's crucial about this is Brady Faso actually got his first win last year in Hibbing. Got disqualified because the power steering didn't work.
Oh my God.
Yeah, fucking stupid, right? Literally, absolute dumbest shit. We talked about it on the show last year. We don't need to go into depth. Like literally, the Wissota Tech officials were doing what they could to ruin Hornet racing last year with this whole power steering nonsense. So he officially won his first feature last year, but had it taken away. It still counts. It's a win. But congratulations on his first two official career feature wins in the Horn division, back to back in Bemidji. He's been racing quite a bit. Hibbing kid over there, and Jada Lord. So Johnny Erickson's niece, it would be, friend of Whitney's. She actually made the trip over there, got fourth. I want to give a shout out to her as well. So that's pretty cool.
Got one more.
You got one more? What do you got?
Yeah, Anthony Jensen got his 8th at Granite
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Yeah, Tony Jensen. Yep, Tony Jensen. That was, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, and that was a good race. Tony Jensen, I didn't watch the one at Granite, but I watched the one at Ogilvie. Him and Bobby Arns are literally side by side every race, all race, every night. Like, if you don't stick around for that race, that is literally, you could have two cars on the racetrack. Those two will be side by side every single night. Bobby Arns and Tony Jensen. Pure stocks. You got anything in the pure stocks, Chunger? Or you want me to kind of roll with what I got?
I got a couple. I got
What do you got?
Gondikla, pure stocks. Shane Bassina brought a home checker, held off Eric Crosby. ABC, Eric Crosby held off Aaron Burnick to win. But Bemidji Puffy got it done. Proctor Crosby won again.
Crosby and Puffy both have 4 on the year. Those two are going to be battling for a natty, for sure.
Go ahead if you got some more.
The one that was most impressive to me, so those two have been winning races, but Jake Smith, Don Smith's kid, remember, Don, I mean, he was excellent in every class he raced in. Probably one of the most winningest drivers over in Grand Rapids. So his kid, Jake Smith, he had a hell of a run. He actually drove by. So the title contenders came there, right? Eric Crosby and Dustin Puffy both went up there thinking, we're going to go to Rapids. One of us is going to win. We're going to start padding our points right here, right? I don't think so. Jake Smith drove by both of them. Not only did he win there, Jake Smith also went up to Greenbush, got his second of the week, and then he went to Proctor and got second. So a first, and a second for Jake Smith. And then George Richards getting it done over at Rice Lake. Mod 4s got a couple quick shout outs there. And I watched a little bit of the Mod 4s.
Yeah.
Dean Larson got it done over at Black Hills. Rowan Tramwood got a pretty sweet looking hot rod, 14T. If you get a chance to jump on Dirt Race Central, watch like Princeton and Ogilvie and what, I don't know if they have them at Ogilvie anymore. Princeton for sure. Rowan Tram's got a pretty sweet looking ride. Brett Conch getting it done at Gillette. Casey Traxler getting it done at North Central. Blake Hawker, I believe that was his first career feature win at Granite. But Ashton Schwinn, second generation driver.
Good.
Yeah, 5 wins on the year, back-to-back wins this weekend, winning at both Bemidji and Greenbush. Keep an eye on Ashton Schwinn, trying to keep pace with old Dustin Holtquist in the national title race. Yeah, we'll jump on into sprint cars here. So we just got done watching Rico Abreu win high limits last week. Justin Peck, who, tough break for him. Peck had the lead tonight at Red Cedar, and looks like he shelled the motor on the start, probably is what happened. Sprint cars last week was pretty sporty, though. Did you guys watch World of Outlaws at River Cities in Fargo last week?
So I didn't, but the one sprint car race I wanted to talk about was Buffalo River with Layla Eisenshank getting a win up there. So and I, Dad or Uncle Donnie was in town, and it looks like he got them girls dialed in because Layla was uncontested in that win at Buffalo River there on Sunday.
Yeah, like I said, they raced everything. They showed a picture of prep day working in the shop, and it's like, holy shit, they got a lot of stuff. They
Right.
that I'm kind of envious. Let's just put it that way. Buddy Colfoyd getting it done at River City. Sheldon Hodenschild getting it done at Fargo. Gravel, back-to-back seconds. The driver to talk about, though, with back-to-back thirds. Donnie Schatz plus 12 at Grand Forks. Plus 12. 15th to third for a podium, and then backed it up with another podium. So the old formerly known as the Minot Missile, getting it up on the podium back-to-back nights. Now, the thing is in the high limits last week, right? So first place, Justin Peck. This is over at Quincy, Michigan, Butler Speedway, high limit action. Justin Peck wins. Aaron Reisel gets second. Brad Sweet third. Rico Abreu fourth. Tanner Thorson fifth. Tyler Courtney sixth. The official results, Brad Sweet disqualified. Brand new sponsor, Dairy Queen, gift certificates to the whole Brad Sweet team. Bert, did you hear what happened there?
Yeah, I heard what happened. It's and I mean basically what they ran an extra lap and he had a tire
Tire,
going down,
flat tire.
and so he lost a bunch of positions. So he thought that he was not in a position where he had to scale. So he didn't scale, and then they realized they made the mistake and went back a lap, and he was in third, and then he got DQ'd.
So what's interesting about that is they recognized that they had an issue. It was a scoring issue. There's been a lot of I don't want to shout out like it's my race passes faults, but just technology, loop issues, whatever, scoring issues, right? Electronic scoring issues. There's been a lot of them at a lot of different racetracks so far this year. So on the final lap, he's running third, and tire goes down. He loses wholesale spots. I don't know exactly how many, half dozen or so, right? And he he can count. So he literally is like probably counting the cars going, shit, I ain't in the top five. I don't need to go to scales, drives right back to the trailer, right? Well, they realized that, holy shit, that last lap shouldn't count. We got to go back a lap. So they scored the lap before that, and he officially would have been third, didn't go to the scales. Now, let's say that's a guy like Tanner Thorson, Tyler Courtney, right? Now, if it's them, they're like, this is your fuck up, right? I'll go back to the scale now, but this is your mistake. This ain't my mistake. Like, I literally, like, it ain't my fault. Like, the checker came out here. They're going to fight that deal, and they're probably going to win, and they're probably going to go ahead and be like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It is our mistake. We're going to let you scale. That probably would happen. What would have happened if they would have overturned that and been like, well, it was our mistake. I know Brad didn't go to the scales, but we're going to let him scale now. What kind of a circus would that have been?
It would 100% been an absolute disaster when the owner of the series gets to come back and scale. And typically, and this has happened in the past, they have a thing where even if you miss the scales, as long as an official has their eyes on your car, and then they will allow you to go back and scale. But a couple of things happened. Obviously, they didn't have their eyes on his car, and it's Brad Sweet. I mean, it's just a bad look for the series if you allow him to go back. There's just no way you can allow it. And quite honestly, it might be good for the series, though, because it's going to, it tightens up that point race, and it's going to, it could be bad for Brad Sweet, but it could be good for the series because now there's a whole bunch of hands in the fire for that championship race.
Going into tonight's event, did you see what the points were, Bert?
I did not.
So,
I did.
well, who's leading? So who's
ahead by
leading
6, right?
Yeah, Brad Sweet was the point leader.
Yep.
After he got DQ'd, Tyler Courtney took the point lead.
Yep.
So Tyler Courtney's ahead by 6. Rico Abreu, 30 points back. Brent Marks, 35 back. Aaron Reitzel, 38 back. 5 drivers within 38 points.
I got a little tighter tonight.
It did. So that let's be honest, right? We want to see a point battle come down to the end. If Brad Sweet loses by a point or 5 points, Oh my
He was
God.
dead.
Right. No, my buddy Bob Broking, he kind of had an incident over opening night in Grand Rapids. He's the promoter, Grand Rapids Speedway, right? He's the promoter. Track was pretty bad opening night last year, and he kind of had a little bit of a like, throw the checker. This is bullshit. We got to get the cars off the track. Well, needless to say, they disqualified him at his own track, right? He lost the points by 1.
Oh.
Swallow that one, right? Now, there's not really any money on the line for a local modified points championship, but there's a lot of money on the line in high limits. That's a lot of money, right? So for him to bite the bullet, I'm going to say this, I think he bit the bullet on that, because I think if he would have looked at it and said, no, this is your guys' bad, employees screwed up, he could have did that. He for sure could have did that. And it would have been justified as a racer. He could have very easily said, look, you guys messed up. Not my fault. I'm the scale now. You're giving me third. It is what it is. He did not do that. He bit it and said, look, for the betterment of the series, I'll take the DQ. Gotta, we talk about all the time, oh man, favoritism and all that. Well, he's probably not getting favoritism in that realm. So probably got to give him a little hat tip on that one. Another thing that happened, and I didn't see, but there was a couple incidents with a lot of times they're pushing with a truck, right, or something a little bit bigger. A lot of these places they're push starting these with 4-wheelers, and that's pretty common, right? They do it in World of Outlaws. You see people push starting sprint cars with 4-wheelers. In Rapids, somebody bit the dust right over the handlebars, push starting one. Menominee, the same thing. Sounds like the guy in Menominee that was push starting one got hurt pretty bad. Don't know all the details, but hopefully he heals up. Sounds like it was a pretty bad deal up in Menominee, but yeah, push starting with them 4-wheelers not extremely safe. Speaking of rollovers there, Brian, did I tell you guys that the one to go show 83 pure stock, Brian Dulciak, he second in qualifying, won his heat, upside down in the feature. It got together with another guy. Guy got him up into the fence and rolled her over. Sounds like he's got it about ready to go. Dave Dulciak was at LaSalle doubleheader with the one to go show 83. Fifth the first night, solid run the first night. Second night didn't go good. She was pretty slippery and he struggled a little bit, got 10th, but got to find a little bit of speed, but better, not good, but better, not good, but better. So that's it on the recap. Anything else that you guys want to shout out before we jump into our pick'ems recap in the most?
I just had a couple more. As far as the grassroots things, Hibbing Raceway, the Renegade Sprint Cars, Paul Schultz, I believe, got it done. One of our old nemesis.
He did the old one-on-one Paul Schultz.
Right. So I'll give a shout out to Paul, and then of course Cade Nelson getting her done at Cedar Lake in the USRA late model.
Always got to give a shout out to Cade. Pick'ems recap. So give a shout out to Daytona One Performance Lubricants here, best in the industry, right? If you need, whether it's tire cleaner, tire treatment, oils, grease, lubricants of any kind, you want to get a hold of Chad. So Buck is very smart, in the Hall of Fame for NASA. Check them out, Daytona One Performance Lubricants on Facebook, on their website, or give Chad a call, 507-828-3536. So we did a draft this past week for the Modified World Championships down at Mississippi Thunder. The old Governor Waltz over there. Governor Waltz. It's Waltz. I think it's Waltz. Is it Waltz? No, it's Waltz, right?
Oh, yeah, whatever. It's the same.
I think it's kind of this. No, I don't think it's the same. It's Waltz. Like the dance, right? He danced all over it. So Governor Waltz absolutely curb stomped us in the draft. Dano getting second. Tardy. JR got third. I got fourth. Man Bun Dan fifth. Uper sixth. Coach got seventh. Worker Bee eighth. Bert in the top 10 with a ninth. Bromance, who literally picked all Wasota guys, 11th.
Thought I got 11th.
No, yeah, Bromance got 10th. You got 11th. Rain Man got 12th.
Yikes.
I'm not going to call him Rain Man anymore, and Beefcake 13th. So the standings in our pick'ems this has got to be the tightest. Bert, did you look closely at how close the point standings are?
I just looked at it briefly, but yeah, it's very, very close.
The top 6 are within 15 points. Coach at 235. I'm at 231. Changa at 229. Dano 224. Bert at 223. Governor Waltz at 220. Rainman 205. Worker Bee 203. Tardy 201. That's close. Uper 198. Man Bundan 190. And Bromance and Beefcake rounding out the field there. Pretty tight. So this week, we decided to pick stock cars modifieds over at the IMCA Summer Nationals at Clay County in Iowa. USAC National Midget Week this week. Indiana Midget Week for the USAC National Midgets. We picked all of those high limit sprint cars at Red Cedar and 141. Bert, you are going right tomorrow night to 141.
Yes.
So we'll have feet on the ground there. World of Outlaw sprint cars at Jackson, Plymouth, Beaver Dam, and Angel Park, and I would expect to see a bunch of the high limit guys over at Plymouth, Beaver Dam, and Angel Park for the World of Outlaw races. So them should be good. Tri-State late models in action. Dakota State Fair Speedway on Thursday, Brown County Speedway on Friday, and back to Huron on Saturday. Fast Lane Super Stock Series, Rice Lake and Red Cedar. USMTS Modifieds at Boot Hill Speedway Friday, Saturday. The Dick Johannick King of Dirt. We're going to pick both nights of the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. But then for the King of Dirt, we're going to pick late models, mods, supers, and Midwest mods. NLRA late models, of course, Grand Forks. That Saturday show at I-94 and then Buffalo River. And then we're doing a draft. We did a draft as well. Dirt late model Dream Week. Castrol Full Racing Night in America, and then of course it's the Dream. So I got a question for you guys. Is it possible that the old voodoo child Scott Bloomquist arrives tomorrow in a spaceship, unloads, and races the Dirt Late Model Dream at Eldora?
I think it's 100% possible, and he's probably going to come down in the Arizona Sports Shirts blimp.
I mean, he is literally the GOAT of late model racing.
I don't think it's going to happen, and
there's a better chance of that happening than Changa winning a draft.
I mean, there'll be no recognition of Bloomquist at the Dream, apparently.
I saw that Arizona shirt.
There's going to be shit tons of Scott Bloomquist stuff. It's all owned by Arizona Sports Shirts, though. Nobody else can do it.
Yeah, that's an interesting deal there. I get it, right? I get, the name, image, likeness, the family not wanting people to make money off of Scott Bloomquist's name and all that. I get that, but I think that Facebook post got blown out of proportion because I'm going to assume that if driver A, B, or C decides they want to do a neat little tribute and they're like, hey, look, we just want to throw something on there, can we? If they ask for permission and they're not going to go and make money off the deal, I don't think they give a shit. I don't think they care. I think they're trying to protect, people from, look at Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt passed, right? And they're still selling Dale Earnhardt stuff. Still, to this day. It's still for sale. Well, Scott Bloomquist is the most iconic person ever in dirt late model racing and is on the Mount Rushmore. He's won, right? As Chongo would say, he's won. So Scott Bloomquist has won. Well, who do you think's won?
Don't need to tell you about that. He's still racing, so he's not done yet.
He's not even fucking relevant. So put it this way.
He's gonna win more races in his career.
Bert, I used to think Billy,
and he's like almost 300 ahead of Bloomquist. So
I used to think Billy Moyer was the man, but I don't know. He got old. He fell off. I don't see Dale McDowell, Jimmy Owens being super slow. Dale McDowell can still win national late model events. Billy Moyer can't. Billy Moyer's not. If Scott Bloomquist is alive, he'd be at the Dream. Billy Moyer ain't at the Dream.
He gets 13th in the B.
Billy Moyer ain't there.
I know.
So Billy Moyer is not first. He's not even second. Dale McDowell's got to be ahead of him. Now he's still winning.
Okay.
Bert, what do you think?
I go with Bloomquist as the GOAT. Just partly based on
the 250 more wins mean nothing.
No, but the innovation that Bloomquist brought to the sport, I think, kind of puts him ahead.
So you're telling me innovating cars that don't beat Billy Moyer is a good thing?
He's the
Yeah,
the
okay.
Team Zero cars were pretty tough when they first came out.
Just him.
So like Changa said, Scott Bloomquist, clear number one. There's a better chance of Scott Bloomquist coming to Eldora in a cigar-shaped spaceship and winning the dream than there is of Billy Moyer winning the dream, and he's still alive.
That's true. That might be. Well, I don't know. Moyer could show up at the dream. It's possible.
We got boots on the ground over there too. We got Dano over there. He's going to fill us in. He's going to give us some behind-the-scenes stuff here this week. So hopefully the weather cooperates.
I'm actually kind of surprised he ain't there.
Well, Dano is there.
No, Moyer.
Yeah, I am surprised too. I'm not sure why he. I mean, I get it because quite honestly, he would not be competitive. So
he should get a provisional.
Right, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So bold predictions, our final segment of the show here. So we had a few come off the board this past week. We keep track of racing related predictions that we get correct in percentage. So Bert, Mississippi Thunder mod feature. See, I got to look at something here. So Mississippi Thunder mod feature, okay, you had top 5 all different chassis. That was not the case because I believe Nicely and Troutman both have elites. They both have elites by Nick Hoffman. So you did not get that one correct. Mars late model action. You said BP 32 and Rocket 1 on the podium and all the features. Did that happen?
In 2 of the races.
No. Well, the ones we picked, yes, that did happen in the ones we picked, but not in all the features because Pierce got 4th in the second feature the first night.
Does that count on that inverted?
I would give it to him because we decided to only technicality. I don't care.
It's not really a feature, right? They call it a feature, but it's more of a special.
The first one was the one that we counted as the feature, so I'd be willing to give it to him.
All right, Bert, you're gonna get that with an asterisk. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right.
There you go, Bert. I was on your side.
Challenge series, at least 3 different winners. Whole series. Shane Sabraski and the wild child Scott Ward. We're at 2 out of 3 for old Bert Lehman there. And then we got Chimichanga here. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, 6 different podium drivers. There was 4. Gravel had doubled up, and so did Donnie Schatz. You got that wrong. Challenge series, 2 or less winners. Nope.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Mars late models. Well, now I fucking see why you give it to Bert.
Not that
Mars
one.
Late models. BP 32 wins all the features, and B-Shep podiums them all.
Yep, that happened.
Well, that's an asterisk too. Now, Bert, for a minute, right? Then Changa is like on your side, and he's
no. See that? So that one in the middle was a bullshit deal because that's when they invert the field. That one don't even fucking count.
It says on the results it's a feature. You 2 freaking cheaters. All right, unbelievable.
They were the races we picked.
Now I see why Changa, Bert. You thought for a minute that he actually gave a shit about you and like he was gonna like.
No, I did. I think Bert should have got it, but I think I would have counted it as me getting it, so I have to count it as Bert getting it.
All right. Well, I got one here. Hibbing. No racing till June. Episode 254. Well, technically in Australia, it was June.
We were in Hibbing, Minnesota. So
why you're gonna count features that don't fucking? I mean, that don't count.
You're the one that made the rule. We're counting the first
don't count. So here's the deal. Okay, I'm not like you guys. I don't take handouts. Okay, so I'll give myself a no on it.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. I'm gonna be a stand-up guy in this. You guys can go ahead, take your 3 points. I'm not doing it. I'll take a no. I got that wrong.
I'll give you some Australia.
Sabraski, best challenge series average with drivers that raced at least 3 shows. Nope, that was Diamond Dave Moss. Tyler Peterson, 2 or more late model wins this weekend. Sorry there, TPO. I think I jinxed you. 1 DNF, 3 seconds. Good weekend, not quite good enough. Mississippi Thunder, 6 or more chassis brands in the top 10, plus Skyrocket and CDR in the top 5. That did happen. There was, I believe, 7 or 8 different chassis in the top 10. And then in the top 5, you had, what do we have here? We had the Skyrocket of Jim Chisholm second.
We don't have much money, but I'll see.
And boy, I think I might have to double check this. Strickler had 2 cars. I might have got, I don't know if I got this right or not. Somebody can do a little research on this. Strickler had.
I'm willing to just give it to you since you're like sucking hind tit and you just need a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna take it right now, but Strickler might not have been in his CDR car because he had a UMP car and a USRA car. And I'm not sure which one he ran in the feature. I'm not sure, so I might have to do a little bit of digging on that. And then Uper had a couple come off the board as well. At least one of Schatz's nieces finished better than him on Friday. Well, they both got third, so that didn't happen. And Donnie Schatz will finish top 10 both nights with at least one podium. That's a clean sweep. The way he's been running, that's a big one there. Good job. All right, so we all got at least one right. So as far as standings go right now,
Getting tight now.
Peter Tonga is at 9, Uper at 6, and Bert at 5, and I'm at 3, kind of sucking. Tonga's at 39.1, Uper at 27.3%, Bert at 26.3, and then we're not going to talk about where I'm at because I suck at this. So we're going to end this, guys, by making 3 bold predictions, racing related, to cap off episode 262. Bert, Chonga, Uper, and then myself. Bert, what's your first prediction?
I'll go World of Outlaw Sprints, and I'll say that a high limit regular will finish in the top 5 in Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, a high limit regular in the top 5 alternates. Okay. Chonga?
I'm going to go the most bold prediction I've ever done.
Sabraski's going to win a race this week?
Nope. Jimmy Chonga is going to get a top 5 in the draft. His life.
Oh, that's bold. That's bold. Hey, that's not a bunt. That's not a tap in. That is bold. Congratulations. You're starting to figure this deal out. All right. Uper. Rico Abreu will on his trip to Cheeseland this week, he's going to have a minimum of 2 wins and 66% or more of the nights he races this week will be on the podium.
Good start.
A good start. Yep. A minimum of 2 wins and 66% or more of the nights he races in Wisconsin will be on the podium. I'm going to take one and I'm going to one-up Bert here. World of Outlaw Sprint Car Nights in Wisconsin. Okay. What is it? Plymouth, Beaver Dam, Angel Park. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Then there's one more at Jackson, right?
That's not in Wisconsin.
No, I know. I understand that.
That's, yep. But yes, you are correct. High limit drivers will make up 50% or more of the podium finishes.
That's bold.
50% or more of the podium finishes in the World of Outlaw races in Wisconsin. High limit.
That's
all right, Bert.
Let's go USAC National Midgets, and I'll go Logan Seavey will have at least is 2 wins not bold enough?
No, that's good enough.
What happened tonight?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We can go Thursday through Sunday. We don't need to include tonight's.
Okay, at least 2 wins on out of the next 4. That's bold.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Chonga.
I'll go World Outlaws since everybody's doing it. I'm gonna say in that 4-race swing for the World Outlaws, gravel podiums every race.
Okay. Podium every race for gravel. Okay. Beaver Dam. This is Uper's second prediction here. Beaver Dam. The car cones haven't been spectacular there in recent years. Not like mega big, right? But this could
Correct.
be the last race. Is that accurate? This could be the last World of Outlaw race at Beaver Dam, possibly?
Possibly, yes.
There's going to be enough buggies that a non-qualifier race is needed.
Yeah, because I was there 2 years ago and they had like 23 cars.
Yeah. So he's thinking a bunch of the high limit guys are going to make a trip. They're going to have enough. I don't know how many that is, but enough that they got to have a non-qualifier race. I'm going to go Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour, I-94 Speedway, Friday and Saturday. There's going to be at least 4 different drivers with podium finishes in the 2 nights. A different winner each night. And Kyle Dykoff will have at least 1 podium. Obviously, if that was by itself, that'd be a bunch. But on a 3-legged parlay, at least 4 different podium drivers, a different winner each night, and Kyle Dykoff with at least 1 podium. All right, Bert.
I'm gonna go 141 high limit. I'm just guessing here. I'm gonna go. A World of Outlaw regular will be on the podium at 141.
A World of Outlaw regular on the podium at 141.
Because they're racing in Minnesota tonight.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
At tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Because tomorrow's the travel day. It'll be interesting because
I have no idea if
take 4.
anybody's going there, but
Yeah, they can only race 4 non-World of Outlaw. That deal is still a thing.
it's 26,000 to win tomorrow night.
I hope you're right. I hope some of the World of Outlaw guys do go. That'd be good for 141 for sure. All right, Changa.
I'm gonna go tri-state late models. And they got a 3-race swing. I'm gonna say all different winners.
All different winners at the Tri-State. Okay. Okay, this is the third one for Uper. The Dream, the A-Main for the Dream, the big show for the Dream. It's gonna race on Sunday or not at all. So the Dream A-Main will race on Sunday or not at all. I'm gonna go Fast Lane Super Stock Series, Rice Lake and Menominee this week. Different winner each night, and at least 4 different drivers with podium finishes. Different winner each night, at least 4 different podiums. So there you have it. Episode 262 in the books. Got to watch a little racing, got to do a show, got to talk a little shit, have a little fun. Always a pleasure. I'm Ryan. That is Bert. That is Shanga. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.